Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto has a legendary summoning contract part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. October 10th. Screams. That's all that could be heard throughout Konoha, the strongest village in the elemental nations. Whether it be from civilians or the shinobi yelling out orders or the screams right before their deaths. The reason for this is because only a few days ago word had reached Konoha that the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the greatest of the Bijou, was on its way towards Konoha and was now only a few hundred feet from the walls. Although for the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato, the leader and strongest ninja Konoha has ever produced was only concentrated on the screams of one person, his wife Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina. She was currently in labor with their first child, a son. He wasn't even due for another 3 weeks, but Minato knew of only one way to stop the Kyuubi, and after a lengthy and hazard to his health argument with his wife, she agreed to the plans, which was why they had to induce the pregnancy. Finally, after what seemed like forever, both parents heard the sound of crying and knew that their family was finally finished, for however short it may be. With a nod, Minato looked at the nurse after she cleaned him and handed him to Kushina and left the family alone. "He looks just like you, Minato-kun," said Kushina, then added, "which means he must get the brains from me," with a laugh from the both of them. Suddenly the door opened and there stood 3 figures. The oldest of them, the previous leader of the village, the Sandaime Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, with titles such as the God of Shinobi and the Professor. The next one was the legendary Sannin Jiraiya, the great Toad Sage, a world-known pervert and student of the Sandaime, and teacher to Konoha's Yellow Flash himself. And the last and youngest one was Hitaki Kakashi, student of Namikaze Minato. Sarutobi looked at the happy family for a few seconds with a smile on his face, but it soon dropped. "Minato, are you sure you want to do this? You know that I can do it," he said. Minato looked at his predecessor and said with a small, sad smile, "Yes, I must do this. I knew what being Hokage meant, and I swore to protect the village with my life." He looked at his student, then his teacher, next was the old man himself, then finally to his wife and son. "Besides, he won't be alone. Naruto will have all of you when I'm gone." Jiraiya looked at his apprentice. "Naruto, huh? Still went with the name, I see." Minato and Kushina smiled at him and said together it was your best book, which had Sarutobi and Kakashi to chuckle and Jiraiya to pout. As they were going to continue their conversation, a loud roar echoed throughout Konoha. Minato sighed and looked at his wife as she held on to their son. He noticed that she was still pale but didn't think much of it. "It's time, Kushina. I must leave now before more people die." He walked over to her and kissed her long and hard and hugged her for what seemed way too short for either of them. He took his son into his arms and kissed his forehead, causing Naruto to wake up and grab a lock of his spiky yellow hair dangling in his son's face, causing a yelp to come from the strongest ninja alive and laughs from everyone else in the room. With a final kiss and hug to his wife, he and the others left to face the Kyuubi and allow Kushina to rest, never noticing the growing pile of blood. On the way to the wall, they stopped at the Hokage Tower to pick up the supplies. When they arrived at the wall, Minato bit his finger and went through some hand seals and called out Kuchiyos no Jutsu, and once the smoke cleared, a giant toad appeared. He looked around him and spotted the group. "What did you call me for, Minato?" he asked. Minato looked up at him and said, "I need you, Gamabunta, to take me and my son to the Kyuubi, then hold him as long as you can while I prepare the jutsu." The newly named Gamabunta looked wide-eyed at that, then said, "So you're going to use it after all? Alright, let's get going." And with that said, Minato, with Naruto in his arms, jumped onto Gamabunta and raced off where his ninja were stalling the Kyuubi. When the trio arrived, the ninja cheered for their leader. As Minato looked around at the damage, his eyes finally landed on the Kyuubi. "Gamabunta, hold it as long as you can while I draw the seals on Naruto." Gamabunta replied, "I'll do my best, but I won't last long against that kind of power." As Gamabunta attacked and dodged the Kyuubi, Minato started the delicate process of drawing the seals on his son's stomach. As he finished, he planted a kiss to his son's forehead and started the sequence of seals for the jutsu. "Kyuubi, I do not know why you are attacking, but I cannot let you continue," he yelled at the beast. As he finished the last seal, he yelled out, "Shiki Fujin." There was a bright flash, and the other ninja stopped what they were doing to watch. They were shocked at what they saw. "What have you called me for, mortal?" a voice asked. As Minato looked behind him, he saw the Shinigami. It had fangs poking out of its mouth with horns on its head and purple skin. It also had a large knife like Gamabunta. He looked it in its eyes and said low enough so only the Shinigami could hear him, "Shinigami-sama, I have summoned you to seal the Kyuubi into my son to stop its destruction." Shinigami looked at Kyuubi and said, "Very well, but as stated, I will have your soul as payment." "Hi, arigato, Shinigami-sama." Minato watched as the Shinigami's arm went through him to the Kyuubi and stuck its hand into the creature. As it pulled back, it brought with it the soul of the beast, but it was not acting like it was before. It looked around as if it didn't recognize where it was. As the Shinigami placed its soul into his son, he finished the process by drawing the remaining seals on his son's stomach before he died. As he finished, he saw the same 3 people arrive next to him, but before he could say anything, though, Sarutobi spoke up. "Minato, I'm sorry, but there were complications with Kushina after we left. She was bleeding and the doctors couldn't stop it. She wrote a letter to Naruto before she died roughly 30 minutes ago." Minato looked on wide-eyed. That was not supposed to happen. She was supposed to raise their son. Hear his first words, watch his first step. Watch him as he entered his first day at the academy. He let a few tears fall from his face before he looked back up. Sarutobi, tell the people my last wish is for them to see my son as the hero he is. For now, he will take his mother's name until he is strong enough for his full name. I have left further instructions in the safe in the office. With that said, the Shinigami pulled out his soul and ate it. With his anchor gone, Gamabunta returned to the world of the summons. Sarutobi picked up Naruto and held him close and rocking him back and forth to quiet his crying at the loss of his father. Jiraiya looked at his student before picking him up as the rest of the shinobi and kunoichi surrounded their fallen leader. After the Sandaime issued orders, the 2 adults, 1 young teen, and 1 baby left back to the village. As Minato opened his eyes, he suspected to be in the belly of the Shinigami. He did not expect to be in a throne-like room with who he assumed as the Shinigami, as he looked different from before looking at him, and saying, "We have much to discuss." 5th anniversary of the Kyuubi attack, October 10th. A little boy with blonde hair, blue eyes, and 3 whiskers like marks on each cheek was running from a crowd of villagers and shinobi trying to find a place to hide. Today was his 5th birthday, and he wanted to enjoy the festival like everyone else, so he ignored the warnings of Sandaime and had left the safety of his apartment. The reason a boy so young that was living on his own is because on his 4th birthday the orphanage had kicked him out, saying, "You're old enough, demon, so get out of here and die." He had been living on the streets for 6 months before his Gigi had found out what happened and had managed to get him an apartment in the slums section of Konoha, the only place that would allow Naruto to live. As he ran, he turned a corner and realized his mistake when he saw it was a dead end. He turned around only to find that he was already trapped. He looked at the villagers brandishing their weapons, yelling obscenities at him, and looked at the ninja also amongst the crowd and on the roofs of the adjacent buildings, also getting out their kunais and shurikens and any other weapons they had. Some were even going through hand seals, taunting him. Naruto started to panic and yelled out things like, "Why are you doing this? And what have I ever done to you?" This only seemed to anger the crowd more as they started yelling back, "You're a demon. And how dare you? You killed our families, you little Kyuubi brat, and now we're going to finish what the Yondaime started." With that, they charged the poor boy and started kicking him and hitting him. Then they cut him and stabbed him with their weapons. After about 10 minutes of that, one ninja picked him up and started banging his head against the wall, watching as more and more blood dripped from his head. As Naruto started drifting to unconsciousness, he saw the same man's eyes turn red with 2 tomos in each eye. He started going through hand seals and called out "Katon, Gokaku no Jutsu" before he took a deep breath and a large ball of fire shot out of his mouth and engulfed Naruto. The last thing he heard were the people cheering for the demon's death. During their cheering, they all suddenly stopped when they felt a lot of killing intent. They all turned around and saw one very pissed off Sandaime Hokage. "Anbu," he yelled. Suddenly he was surrounded by at least 20 Anbu. "Kill the villagers and take the shinobi to Ibiki, then after he's done with them, execute them." All of the Anbu chorused "HAI" and started. The Sandaime ran over to Naruto with Inu and Nico, 2 of just many Anbu who had guarded the boy since his birth, and was horrified at what they saw. He gently picked him up and did a quick Shunshin no Jutsu and teleported to the hospital. He quickly ran in and called for the best doctor, which happened to be one of the few who did not hate the boy. After the doctor got over the shock in which Naruto was in, he called a few nurses and started working. After a couple of hours, the doctor came back out. The Sandaime immediately started asking questions. "How is he, doctor?" The doctor took a breath before replying, "I've never seen so much damage before. The Kyuubi's chakra is healing him, but with the amount of damage and how severe some of his wounds are, I'm not sure if that will be enough," he quietly said. The old man was in shock. He had barely heard everything else the doctor had told about his condition. He had failed Minato and Kushina in protecting their child so many times, and now, even with the Kyuubi's amazing healing abilities, he could still die. The child that he saw as his own grandson. He couldn't bear to think of that little ball of sunshine wouldn't be calling him Gigi anymore. He quietly thanked the doctor and made his way into Naruto's room. He saw all the equipment attached to the boy. He silently sat in a chair by his bed and gently grabbed his hand, praying that he would make it through this. He was so deep in thought that he barely heard the door open, but knew it was not anyone coming to harm Naruto, as he recognized the chakra signature. When the door fully opened, in walked one of his personal Anbu Inu. One who was very attached to the boy. He looked at his leader and asked, "How is he?" The Sandaime looked more like a worried family member at that point than the god of shinobi, and replied, "Even with his healing abilities, the doctor estimates a 10% survival rate. Apparently many of the weapons had been coated in different poisons, and that is taking most of his healing abilities right there, and there are so many more." Inu looked back at his young charge and took off his mask. Who appeared was none other than Hatake Kakashi. He walked over and ran his hand through the boy's hair that still had clots of blood and dirt in it. He bent down and placed a kiss on his bandaged forehead, and whispered as a tear ran down his cheek, "Don't give up, Ototo. I know you can beat this. There's still so much I want to teach and show you." The Sandaime smiled at the scene, knowing that there were people besides himself who loved the boy. When he saw Kakashi put his mask back on, he knew it was time to be serious. With a stern face, the Hokage looked at his Anbu and said, "Inu, report. As ordered, the villagers have been executed and the shinobi have been sent to Ibiki. From what we've already received so far, it seems some civilian council members have offered an award for the demon's death. My team and many others are waiting your orders, Lord Hokage. Sarutobi took on a hard expression and ordered get rid of the trash. No mercy. Inen nodded and disappeared. While that was going on, Naruto awoke in what looked like a sewer. He jumped up when he heard a voice coming from one of the ends of the tunnel. Figuring this voice must know where he is and how he got here, he started to head towards it. After a few minutes, he walked into a huge room with a large cage with a piece of paper with the kanji 4 seal written on it. The voice that he could recognize as feminine was still calling out to him, so he got closer to the cage. When he got close enough, he was surprised at what he saw. It was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, and he had seen many beautiful women in Konoha who didn't hate him. She had long red flowing hair to the mid of her back, a heart-shaped face with red eyes and red lips with a light tan skin. Her breasts were quite large, easily DDs with wide hips and a perfect ass and legs that went on forever. She was wearing a red kimono showing a bit of cleavage with designs of sakura petals, and on the back was the legendary Kyuubi no Kitsune. His jaw was on the floor, and she giggled at him, which startled him out of his trance. He started to blush and uttered the only word he could think of: beautiful. She then also blushed a bit and thanked him. He looked at her again and asked Ano, "But who are you and where are we? Also, why is someone as pretty as you locked in a cage?" She smiled at him but also frowned. She started to cry, and Naruto, not liking seeing people cry, especially beautiful women, ran into the cage and hugged her. Kyuubi was startled when she opened her eyes to see her jailer hugging her, trying to comfort her. She was so glad but also afraid of what he might do when she told him of whom she was. She cleared her throat and got his attention. She smiled at him, which made him blush again, and she started speaking. "Naruto-kun, and before you say anything, yes, I know your name. In fact, I know everything about you since you were born. The reason for this is because I've been sealed inside you since then." He looked at her with wide eyes and asked, "Then who are you?" She calmed herself down before beginning again. "Naruto-kun, you know the story of how the Kyuubi attacked Konoha the day you were born and the Yondaime killed the Kyuubi but died too, correct?" Naruto nodded and said, "Of course, everyone knows that." "Well, that's only partially correct," she said, earning a raised eyebrow from the little boy, which she thought looked incredibly cute. He asked, "Which part?" "The part of him killing it. You see, even a man as strong as the Yondaime was not strong enough to kill the Kyuubi, so he did what others have done before to the tailed beasts. He sealed it away at the cost of his own life by summoning the Shinigami, who is the only being besides the rest of the gods that is stronger than the Kyuubi." He listened on with wide eyes as she continued. "But you see, he couldn't just seal a being such as the Kyuubi into anything. A vase would be pointless since it would break free in only a matter of minutes. An adult would be no good because they wouldn't be able to withstand Kyuubi's chakra because their own chakra networks have already been formed. So the only being strong enough to contain the greatest of the Bijou is ironically a newborn baby. This is because a baby's chakra pathways have not yet developed so they can adapt to the demon's chakra," she explained. She watched as emotion after emotion and finally understanding crossed the boy's eyes. He looked at her and spoke. "I was the child, wasn't I?" She nodded and he gulped as he prepared his next question. "Then that means you're the Kyuubi no Kitsune?" he again asked. She replied, "Yes, Naruto-kun, I am the Kyuubi no Kitsune. But I want you to know that not all demons are bad as humans believe." He looked at her, still hugging her, unable to move from everything he had just learned. "I guess that makes sense since you don't seem very mean to me." She smiled at him and hugged him tighter and begun crying again. "Kyuubi-chan, what's the matter? Why are you crying?" he asked. Kyuubi blushed at the chan suffix and thought, "I can't believe a 5-year-old is making me blush. A cute 5-year-old, but a 5-year-old nonetheless." She bent down and looked him in the eyes and said, "It's because of me, Naruto-kun, that you lost your family, that the villagers and shinobi hate you and hurt you. You should hate me because of everything that I've done." She sniffed and wiped her eyes as the tears continued pouring down. "Kyuubi-chan, it's not your fault. If they can't tell the difference between a jailer and its prisoner, then that's their fault. Besides, I have a feeling that the reason I heal so quickly is because of you, so you've been helping me without me even having to ask you for help." He smiled at her as he wiped the tears from her face. She looked at him shocked, thinking, how can he be so kind and caring after everything he's been through? "I promise you, Naruto, I'll always be there for you." She smiled and hugged him tighter as he let her rest her head on his shoulder. After a few minutes of letting her calm down and straighten herself out, he asked her where they were. She laughed nervously since she had forgotten that question. "Well, Naruto-kun, damn Naruto-kun, now what the hell's wrong with me? We are in your mind right now. The reason it looks like a sewer is because it represents what you are usually feeling, and you usually feel sad and lonely, which gets you the sewer. Since you're here now, why don't you try to change the scenery to something better?" He agreed and closed his eyes. His eyebrows, scrunched up in concentration, looked so cute to her she had to restrain herself from glomping him. When he had the image in his head, he heard a gasp from who he assumed was Kyuubi and opened his eyes. It was exactly like he imagined, only more lively. There was forest behind them, and you were able to see some animals in it. To the right was a waterfall with a pond big enough to bath in or swim, or anything else, hint hint, adult stuff, nosebleed. In front of them was a wide open plain with animals roaming around, and way off into the distance you could see snow-covered mountains. Kyuubi looked around, awestruck at how beautiful it was. She turned around and this time did glomp Naruto, repeating how beautiful it was. He motioned to her neck and she felt a choker there. That is basically the seal and all this the cage. I've allowed you to alter anything you like and to add anything also. He smiled at her as she once again cried, but this time of tears of happiness. After walking around a bit, Naruto grabbed Kyuubi's hand and motioned for them to sit down. When they did, she could see the hesitation on his face. What's the matter, Naruto-kun? You can ask me anything you know. He looked into her eyes and knew that what he was about to ask was big, but he believed her. Kyu-chan, he started. She blushed at her new nickname, but let him continue. If you're willing to tell me, I would like to know why you attacked Konoha. She looked at him for a few seconds, then nodded her head. I was sleeping in my den when I was attacked by a man who had yellow slitted eyes and smelt like snakes, and used snakes in his jutsu. I chased him out of my den and turned around to go back in, but as I turned around there was another man there. Unlike the other man, his eyes were red with 3 tomos in each eye that morphed together, and he used one of his eye's powers to trap me into a powerful genjutsu. He tortured me in my human form for 72 hours in that genjutsu when in reality it had only been a second in the real world. He then used my broken mind to control me and had me attack Konoha. The rest you know, but even though I don't know the first man, I do know who the second one was. Naruto looked at her with wide eyes. What happened to her was terrible. He quickly hugged her, telling her everything was okay as she began to cry. I believe I know who the man who attacked you first. He sounds like the snake Sannin Orochimaru who betrayed the leaf shortly after the Yondaime was chosen for Hokage. What was the name of the second person? I know him because he had used me before, using the same method to attack Konoha during the reign of the Shodai. Luckily with the Shodai's bloodline he was able to stop me and the man, but he still lives after all these years. He knew he would need help of controlling me again, which is why he used the first man to distract me. The name of that man is Uchiha Madara. Naruto was once again shocked. The man who helped found Konoha has tried to destroy it at least twice. Not only that, but he'd have to be over 100 years old by now. Kyu-chan, do you know how he is still alive? She nodded and asked Naruto-kun, do you know where bloodlines originate from? He shook his head and she explained. You see, about 90% of the world's bloodlines originate from demons. The other 10% come from the gods. Reason there are more demonic bloodlines is because before the age of ninja, humans and demons lived together in peace. There were a few humans and demons, of course, that didn't get along as well. Well, some of those demons fell in love with the humans, and they had children. From this is where most bloodlines started. After many generations the bloodlines got stronger, but with that the humans got greedy, wanting that power for themselves. Since I was the strongest of demons about a century before the Rikudo Sannin, I was attacked by a group of men wanting my power. They used an ancient demonic spell to take some of my power before I managed to drive half of them away after I killed the other half. This is how the Sharingan was created. I was not worried about my power being taken because, unknown to humans, when a demon's power is taken unwillingly there are problems that come with that power. For one, since I am a female, any male that uses my power will start to lose their sanity. And the longer they keep that I activated, the faster it happens. Second, in order to achieve the second to last form of the Sharingan, the user must kill their best friend. This happens to both males and females. This form is called the Manjikyu Sharingan. The longer the user uses this form, the faster they lose the sight of their eyes. Truly a wonderful side effect for a Dijitsu user. But the final form of the Sharingan is how Madara still lives today. This form is called the Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. This form grants the user eternal youth and immortality. In order to achieve this form, you must take the eyes of another Manjikyu Sharingan user, but not just any, it must be your own relative. The closer the blood is, the more successful it will be. Madara took the eyes of his brother to achieve his form, and so far he is the only one who has achieved this. Naruto was just sitting there absorbing the information, which he concluded in one sentence. So we got one crazy psychotic lunatic out there that is immortal and probably the strongest person in the world, and a bunch of crazy male Uchihas running around Konoha acting as the police force. She nodded with a smile. Great. Just fucking great. Naruto-kun, watch your language. She scolded him. He looked at her with a raised eyebrow for a few seconds before both burst out laughing. Thanks, Kyu-chan, I needed that. She smiled and said, no problem. Kyu-chan, you wouldn't happen to know who my parents were, would you? Actually, Naruto-kun, I do know of who your father is. He looked at her with wide eyes before jumping her, repeating, tell me, over and over again. She laughed and told him to calm down. Once he obliged, she began. Now I could just tell you, but I want you to figure it out on your own with the hints I give you. I know how smart you are, so it shouldn't be that hard, okay? He nodded. She smiled and said, alright, now tell me your hair color and eye color. He just told her yellow hair, blue eyes. She nodded, trying to keep from imaging the look on his face when he finds out. Good, now who else in Konoha has that combination? He thought for a second and came up with the Yamanakas, but their hair wasn't spiky like his, and the hair and eye color were a lighter shade. He remembered Senju Tsunade had a closer shade of hair color to him in a picture he saw in Gigi's office once, but she would have known he wasn't a demon and come back for him if they were related due to her being a Mednin. He tried to think of anyone else and could only think of one other person. It was so far-fetched but made the most sense. Why he chose him and not another child. Why he didn't have a father growing up because he was dead and didn't abandon him like the villagers said. Hell, now that he thought about it, he really did just look like a chibi yondaime with whisker marks. He looked back up at her, and she knew he figured it out by the look in his eyes. My father is the yondaime. It was more of a statement than a question, but she nodded anyways. This time it was her who hugged him to comfort him when he started to cry. She said soothing words to calm him down. After a while he looked at her and asked her why. She smiled a sad smile, and replied, I had heard a lot about the yondaime during my time outside, and I heard he was an honorable man who loved his village and the precious people inside it. I don't think he could have asked for someone else's child if he couldn't use his own. But instead of asking me why don't you ask him, he just stared at her like she had grown a second head and said hush. She pointed behind him at there stood 3 figures, 2 males and a female. The only female had fiery orange-red hair with emerald-looking eyes. She had the body of a kunoichi. The first male his eyes landed on looked exactly like the yondaime, from the hair, eyes, even the famous coat he wore. The last male had on what looked like a black suit. He had black hair and black eyes. The only thing that didn't seem black was his skin. The man in the suit stepped forward and introduced himself. Hello, young Naruto. I am the Shinigami, and these 2 are your parents, your mother Uzumaki Kushina and your father Namikaze Minato. Everything that Kyubi has told you is true, by the way, even though I knew you believed her anyways with being a god and all. He chuckled at his own joke, but when he realized no one else did, he started mumbling about no sense of humor. Kushina and Minato looked at each other, and nodded their heads and grabbed each other's hand and walked towards Naruto. When he didn't move, he heard Kyubi whisper in his ear, Go Naruto. Go towards your parents. And with that she gave him a little push, and that was all that was needed as he sprinted towards his parents as they bent down, and he tackled them crying into their shoulders. They just held him tight, cooing him. Kyubi looked on with tears in her eyes. Shinigami walked past them towards Kyubi. Kyubi, how are you? I'm good, Shinigami-sama. I don't think I'd rather be in anybody else. As I'm sure you've been watching, I'm amazed at how kind and caring Naruto is, and how he hasn't lost his sanity with everything that's happened to him. Shinigami just smirked at Naruto and agreed. Indeed, he has a very strong spirit, but do you remember when you were first sealed that I had made a deal with Minato that when Naruto first met you that he would be here as well? She nodded and said, yes, I remember, and I'm glad you allowed his mother to come as well. I'm relieved that she didn't abandon him, but still sad that he had to grow up these past 5 years alone. Shinigami just nodded his head as he watched the family. While those 2 were talking, the family had finally calmed down when both parents noticed something while hugging their son. When they both looked at each other, they saw the same conclusion that they hoped wasn't real, and then looked down at Naruto. Kushina spoke first. Naruchan, she said, getting his attention. He blushed at the nickname as Kushina smiled at him, while Minato chuckled. Naruto, we need you to lift up your shirt so we can confirm something, okay, sweetie? She said, giving him a gentle hug. He slowly nodded his head, having a good idea what they wanted to see. He slowly lifted his shirt, and both parents gasped at what they saw. Their child, their only child, their little Naruto, was horribly malnourished. You could easily count every rib and the signs of his pelvis too. Both parents were curious at how their village could let this happen to their son, yet alone any child, but before either could ask any questions, a cough alerted them to Kyubi. Before you 2 start asking questions, it might be easier to watch what has happened to your son for the past 5 years. With his photographic memory and mine, I've been able to record everything that's happened to him, conscious and unconscious, she suggested. Naruto looked ready to panic that his parents were going to find out what has happened so far, and even things he hasn't. With a hand on each shoulder from both Kushina and Minato, they asked him if it was okay. With a slow nod, a large television screen appeared in front of them, and a couch behind them. Getting the idea, they sat down and started watching from the moment Kyubi was sealed into Naruto. They watched as Sarutobi announced to the village how Kyubi was sealed in Naruto, and how he was a hero only for the villagers and shinobi to call for his death. How when he brought Naruto to the council shortly thereafter, and once again the civilian side of the council called for his death, and even some tried to attack him. They watched Danzo try to get the boy to make him into a weapon. The only good part from that was that except for the Uchiha clan head, every other clan head was respecting Minato's wishes. They watched his treatment in the orphanage where he had to sleep, and what he barely got to eat. When he was kicked out on his 4th birthday, and what was said to him till 6 months later when the Sandaime found out, and got Naruto an apartment in the slums. Till finally they watched how he was running from the villagers and ninja on his current birthday to their attack on him, and how an Uchiha used the Katon Jutsu to burn him. Then how shortly after Sarutobi arrived pissed off to the news the doctor gave him that startled all 3 of them and Kyubi because she had been so busy she didn't even notice. Minato and Kushina were glad at how Kakashi viewed and how much he cared for their son. They were going to make him an honorary member of their clan after Naruto's birth. During the viewing, Kushina and Minato were shaking from the crying and rage towards their village. They would take glances at Naruto or hold him tighter during certain viewings and would sometimes see a look of shock on the boy's face from things he found out. At the end they each took some long breaths to handle their emotions. The first to speak was Naruto. Ano Otosan, Okasan, who was that man that called me Ototo? I recognize him as an ANBU who protects me a lot. Minato and Kushina smiled at their son and were surprised at how smart he is, but he is their son. Minato spoke next and said that man was Hatake Kakashi Naruto-kun. He was one of my 2 remaining students when I was a Jounin sensei. Then Kushina spoke up. He is a good and honorable man, and we were going to surprise him by making him an honorary member of our clan after you were born, but as you know, things don't always work out the way you want them to. During this conversation, the Shinigami and Kyubi walked over to them to get their attention. Shinigami cleared his throat and began, I'm sorry to break this up, but as you recall, the reason Naruto is here is because of the attack on him. Unfortunately, due to the circumstance of his injuries, not even Kyubi's healing abilities will heal him, and he is slowly dying. He paused here waiting for an outburst, and was not disappointed. As he calmed the 2 parents, one female Bijou, and one 5-year-old, he continued. Now the reason for this is because Kyubi cannot use more of her chakra because of the seal. If we were to change it to allow more of her chakra, then he will be alright, but this does come at a cost. He paused again to let that set in, and continued. Now the seal originally would slowly purify Kyubi's chakra into Naruto's own, adding to his reserves, and by the time he reached 25 it would be complete, and Kyubi could either come with me to the afterlife or become human with Kage level strength. Now because of the recent development, these conditions are still there with some minor changes and additions. For one, the age this would be complete would be 16, and because of adding more demonic chakra to Naruto's system, he will have a new bloodline in addition to the ones he has already, but will be slightly demonic, but no more than any other person with a demonic bloodline. As he looked at the expressions on their faces ranging from shock to curiosity, he was about to continue when Naruto interrupted him. Ano Shinigiji, what does this bloodline do? Shinigami had a twitch in his eye at the nickname, while the other 3 were laughing their asses off, and he could swear he heard all the other gods laughing at him. After mumbling to himself for a few minutes, he explained the bloodline. Well, obviously you will have an advanced healing ability, even more so than now. So you'll be immune to pretty much every kind of poison out there, and you'll even be able to regrow limbs. The only ways to be killed will be having your head chopped off, or your body is completely destroyed to the cellular level. But the best part, in my opinion, is eternal youth. You'll stop aging at 25 and live to an old age of about 150. Also, of course, this is passable to any children you have and any mates you have. He had a perverted giggle at the end along with Minato while the women were glaring daggers at them. Ano, what are mates? Naruto asked. Everyone started sweating until they all said together, you'll find out when you're older. Naruto just sweat dropped at that, but let it go for now. Meanwhile, Kyubi was sporting a huge blush that did not go unnoticed by the parents. They looked at each other in silent communication and nodded their heads. Kushina walked over to Kyubi, who noticed and started sweating. As she pulled her away from the others, she took on a serious expression and said, explain. Kyubi started stuttering, saying, I don't know what you mean. Kushina gave her a hard look before smiling at her, which freaked out Kyubi, and said, I approve. Kyubi just stared at her and said, huh. Kushina continued smiling and said, Minato, and I approve of you being Naruto's mate, or one of his mates until he's older, of course. I've seen how much you care about him, and how much he cares about you, and I have a feeling it will only get deeper as he gets older. Just promise me that you'll always be there for him and love him. Kyubi looked on in shock and thought, am I that easy to read, but started smiling and had a tear run down her cheek as she hugged her future mother-in-law and whispered, thank you, and I promise. Kushina just smiled back and hugged her, but got a deviously grin on her face and added, just make sure to give me lots and lots of grandchildren. Kyubi just looked at her shocked before her face turned redder and redder before passing out. Kushina just laughed before picking her back up and heading back to where the others were sitting on the couch and some newly appeared furniture. She had Minato, who was sitting next to Naruto, on the couch move and laid Kyubi on the couch with her head on Naruto's lap. Minato and Shinigami chuckled while Naruto merely raised an eyebrow as he subconsciously ran his hand through her hair while looking at his mother and asking what happened. She just smiled the deviously grin again and said, girl talk. As they got back on topic, Naruto looked down at Kyubi and asked, what will happen to her if I don't accept? Shinigami just said she will cease to exist as the seal hasn't finished its job. Naruto's neck snapped back up at Shinigami and said, I'll do it. I won't let someone precious to me let that happen to them. The remaining conscious adults smiled at that, and Shinigami said, before we begin, is there anything else you two would like to say? Once the process is complete, I'll have to take you back to the afterlife. Minato stepped up to his son and hugged him before saying, son, no matter what you want to do with your life, no, we will always support you. As you may have remembered, Shinigami mentioned that you already have bloodlines, one from your mother and one from myself. We won't tell you what they are because where's the fun in that, but you can find out in the clan estate. It is located about a mile in the forest behind the Hokage monument. The estate is protected by seals, so when you find the front gate, just apply some blood to it, and it will open. Also, don't mess with anything that you know you aren't ready for in there. Wait until you're strong enough to protect your precious people before taking your full name. Remember, we love you and are so proud of you already. With that and a final hug and a kiss to the forehead, he let go to let his wife go. Kushina smiled at the scene of Naruto and Kyubi before she kissed his right cheek and hugged him. There's not much I can add to what your father has already said, but that my bloodline is way cooler. She giggled and Naruto laughed at that while he could see his father tried to keep a straight face. There is our family history in our scrolls as well. Learn from it and improve. Make sure to not repeat any mistakes from the past. When you read where I came from, I know you'll be surprised, she said with a smile. Remember to protect your precious people, as that is where true strength comes from. I love you, my little Naruto-chan, and never forget that, she finished as she hugged him one last time and this time kissed his left cheek. Naruto cried, knowing this will most likely be the last time he'll see his parents before he joins them in the afterlife. After that was done, Shinigami has Naruto wake Kyubi to start the process. Q-chan? Time to get up, Q-chan. She snuggled more into his lap and mumbled few more minutes Naruto, which had him smile at her and blush, and the others to chuckle. He shook her a little more until she finally started opening her eyes. She finally realized where she was and blushed, and jumped to the other side of the couch. Shinigami chuckled once more before saying, now that Sleeping Beauty is up we can begin. Kyubi was confused until Naruto explained what she missed before she jumped up and hugged both Minato and Kushina, and they hugged her back. Kushina decided to have one last teasing moment before leaving and said, now remember Q what you promised, and I want at least 3. She giggled at her blushing face before hugging her once more and kissing her forehead and whispering in her ear, take good care of my Sochiyom, daughter-in-law. Kyubi looked at her smiling face before she nodded her head and smiled back. Once she was back next to Shinigami and Naruto, Shinigami had the seal appear and was about to start when Naruto asked him a question, Nishinijiji, is there others like me? Shinigami was again heard the adults laughing and was now certain he heard the other gods laughing at him too. He looked at Naruto and replied, yes Naruto, there are. Why do you ask? I was wondering if once I got stronger if I could help them and the other Bijou, Naruto replied. Shinigami looked into his eyes and saw no deceit and said the only way would be through extremely advanced Fuinjutsu. Tell you what, once you've become strong enough and a seal master on par with your Otosan, then I'll deliver you the seals that will help each Jinchuriki, which is what you are called, with extracting their demons, as each one will most likely have a different seal and I should know by then what kind of seals they have. Naruto nodded and thanked his Shinigami and let him continue the process. About 30 minutes later of adding seals that not even Minato recognized to override the old ones not needed and adding a few extra ones, he burned away the old seals and watched as Kyubi's chakra flooded into Naruto. He started screaming and the others were helpless as they watched, and about 5 minutes later he stopped screaming and fell unconscious as Kyubi put his head onto her lap as she ran her hand through his hair and was startled by Shinigami as he said, it's finished. He walked back to Kushina and Minato, who had tears in their eyes, holding each other knowing it was time to leave. As the 3 of them started to disappear, Shinigami's voice reached Kyubi and heard what he said, remember to remind the Gaki to not tell anyone what has happened here for now, Kyubi. She just nodded and continued stroking his hair. After sleeping for 16 hours straight, Naruto slowly opened his eyes and was expecting to be in his mind but recognized that he was in a hospital. He was about to think all of that was a dream until he heard a familiar lovely voice. It wasn't a dream, Naruto-kun, it was all real. Shinigami-sama said not to mention anything that happened for now. Also to speak to me, just think it, and I'll be able to hear you. Naruto just blinked before closing his eyes and thought, how are you doing, Q-chan? Kyubi blushed as the very first thought was of her well-being. I'm doing fine, Naruto-kun, now that I know you're okay. Naruto just gave her a mental hug and opened his eyes to look around the room. So what do you think I should do now, Q-chan? For now, since it is still dark out, just wait till the morning, since I've noticed the Sandame has been here every day along with others that care about you. I would let them know you're okay now, and when you are discharged, sneak to your clan house to find out about your bloodlines, and you can start living there. Also, I was told by your mother that the place has enough food for 3 years, so you can start eating healthy and get better. Then if you still want to become a ninja, I can help instruct you, since I'm sure they must have a training ground or some place to train. Naruto just listened to everything she had mentioned and couldn't help but be impressed. Wow, Q-chan, you're amazing. He praised, which earned a blush from our vixen. Soon he was back asleep and woke up at the sound of the door opening. He opened his eyes as he saw his Gigi, and immediately woke up and jumped as his back was facing him as he closed the door, yelling Gigi, and tackled the old man. Sarutobi was shocked but then noticed what the person said. Only one person calls me that, he thought. As he slowly turned around, there he was wide awake, smiling from ear to ear, hugging his Gigi's back. Suddenly Sarutobi began smiling as tears ran down his cheeks as he hugged his Magamasuko grandson. After a few minutes he placed Naruto back on the bed and looked him over for any injuries. When he didn't see any, he asked, how are you doing, Naruto-kun? Naruto smiled at his Gigi and said, I'm good now, Gigi. When can I leave? As soon as the doctor clears you, Naruto-kun, and he should be in here soon. So tell me, do you remember how you ended up in here? Naruto looked down and nodded. Sarutobi looked sadly at the boy. To be only 5, but to be through things not even a veteran ninja would have, he thought. Do you want to talk about it, Naruto-kun? You know I'm always here for you. Naruto just hugged his Gigi and started crying. Even though he's cried with Q-chan and his parents about it, it still hurts. Sarutobi just hugged him tighter and just rocked him back and forth, saying, it'll be alright, Naruto-kun, it'll be alright. After a few minutes the door opened and the doctor walked in. He was shocked as he saw his little patient awake and hugging the Sandame, but smiled at the scene. He walked over to Naruto and began checking him for injuries. After the okay, he discharged Naruto after hugging the boy to let him know that he's not alone. Sarutobi did a quick Shunshin no Jutsu to avoid any villagers and appeared in his office, where he spent the rest of the day with the boy and any ANBU or other people who were worried about him. After a stop at Ichiraku Ramen in which Naruto set a new record for eating 33 bowls, they left to his apartment where he wished Naruto good night. Naruto and Kyuubi decided to wait a couple weeks until things calmed down to head to the estate. Once night fell though, he headed off. It took him 20 minutes just to get to the forest on top of the Hokage monument. After an hour of traveling as quietly as possible into the forest, he finally found it. The place was huge. He found the front gate and, like his Otosan mentioned, applied his blood to it after a quick bite of his sharpened canines. The lock glowed for a few seconds, then there was an unlocking sound, so Naruto slowly pushed the gate open. After he got through and relocked it, he noticed there were many houses, and the one in the middle he guessed was the clan head's house. The land was overgrown with grass and weeds, and he decided to take care of that problem when he had a chance. He slowly walked to the main house and noticed even though no one's lived here for 5 years, the houses looked well kept on the outside. As he arrived at the door of the main house, he noticed the same lock on the gate, so he applied blood once again and after a few seconds opened the door. When he walked inside, he was awestruck at what he saw. The place looked even bigger on the inside. The only noticeable problem was that the place was dusty as hell, but he figured after 5 years could do that. After traveling for about 10 minutes, he came upon the main bedroom and decided to explore the rest of the house in the morning. Naruto was having the best sleep of his life. He could finally relax, not having to worry if someone was going to break into his apartment and try to kill him. Slowly the sun rose and shined in through the window, landing on his face. He slowly opened his eyes from the warm sensation. When he finally sat himself up in bed, he looked around and smiled to himself. He was finally home. Home, he never thought he would have that, and it felt damn good. He walked through the mansion to see if he could find any clothes that would fit him. After an hour, he found 20 sets of clothes from various rooms. He went back to the master bedroom and put the clothes on the bed and headed for the bathroom. He turned on the water to the shower and started scrubbing fast before the water went off, but then he remembered that he wasn't in his old apartment where that old bitch of a landlady had timed his showers, and took his time feeling the warmth of the water on his skin. After about 20 minutes he finished and took his towel and walked back to the bedroom. After getting dressed, he headed downstairs to the kitchen. He looked around but didn't spot any food. He could have sworn Kyuubi told him that there was food here. He opened his mind link with her and called to her, "Kyu-chan." He tried again. After no response, "Kyu-chan, you there?" He was about to try again but finally got a response, "Haneru-kun. What are you doing up so early?" Naruto shook his head and thought, the sun has been up for over an hour now, Kyu-chan, and I wanted to get started on my training as soon as possible. Anyways, do you know where Okasan said the food was, because I don't see any? Kyuubi slowly stretched herself awake and remembered what Kushina had said. I remember now. She said that the food was stored in seals in the pantry room in the room next to the kitchen. Just apply a small bit of chakra to the seals and take what you want to eat. Naruto thanked her and walked to the room. As he walked inside, he noticed various labels for things like apples and bread and even things like milk. These must be some seals to keep things like milk preserved, he thought. As he was about to apply a small amount of chakra to various seals, he quickly remembered an important detail. Laughing nervously, he opened his connection to Kyuubi and said, Kyuubi? I just remembered I haven't accessed my chakra yet. Kyuubi's eyes widened as she blushed in embarrassment, as she too had forgotten that. Laughing nervously as well, she replied, well, I guess the first thing is to unlock your chakra. After he went out back, he found what looks like a training ground that would need to be cleaned up, but for now he decided to start his training. Naruto gave her a mental nod when he was ready, and she started to sit down and close your eyes. Look deep into yourself till you find something warm and grab onto it, and don't let go. Pull it to yourself and make it part of you. Naruto did as told, and after about 10 minutes he found it. He grabbed it and pulled it to him. It was so warm and he felt the power running through him. He opened his eyes and saw his chakra around him. It was a dark blue that surrounded his entire body. He calmed down and watched it recede. Kyuubi smiled radiantly as she congratulated him. Well done, Naruto, you managed to get it on your first try and in record time. For now, since your body is still repairing itself, which should be finished by the end of the month with you starting to eat healthy every day, we'll work on controlling your chakra. Since you already have high genin level reserves, you'll have to constantly work on your control, as it will keep growing with my chakra converting to your own and naturally it increasing as you get stronger. But for now, head back in and have some breakfast. After having the best breakfast ever and restocking the kitchen, he headed back out to continue his training. And so for the next couple months, Naruto trained every day, resting on Sunday. Like Kyuubi had said, his body was what it should have been and a bit better at the end of the month, and she had him start training his body. He started with 50 push-ups, sit-ups, leg squats and other various exercises, and finishing with 10 laps around the field, which equaled about half a mile in the morning. After that he would take a 30-minute break, then work on his chakra control until he was exhausted. He would visit the old man on Sunday so he wouldn't get suspicious. He had cleaned most of the inside of the mansion and started cleaning up his land. There were still some rooms he hadn't entered yet because there were seals on them. He decided to wait to clean the other houses for now. During those 2 months Naruto found the clan library, and it was impressive to say the least. He was sure there were more scrolls here than the Hokage's library. There were about a dozen tables around the room. He walked to a podium in the middle of the room and noticed 2 scrolls on it. The one on the left said Namake's bloodline on it, and the one on the right said Uzumaki bloodline on it. He opened his Otosan's first and began to read it. To Naruto, this scroll contains the information on the Namake's bloodline. Our bloodline is not a Digitsu like the Sharingan or the Byakugan. Ours is a body bloodline. It doesn't have a name, but it is indeed very useful. Our bodies are unique. Every time we are injured, our body becomes harder once we heal. So through constant training, one's body could become theoretically unbreakable. This was how I was able to withstand traveling at the speed of light using my Hiraishin no Jutsu, as only members of the Namake's family would be able to survive that. Our bloodline was a gift to us by Kami herself. We do not know why she gave this gift to us, but we swore to never abuse this gift. Also, a little bit of interesting info is that most people don't realize, but when the Senju and Uchiha clans settled for peace and decided to find a location to settle down, they were not the ones who settled the land that is now Konohagakure. In fact, when they found the location, the Namake's clan had already been settled there for a century. We allowed them to settle the lands next to us and helped them build the first ninja village. Over the years, we had managed to own 51% of the lands within the village, and as a result, anything on those lands as well as an insurance policy. So suffice to say, we are the richest clan in Konoha. Unfortunately, throughout the Great Ninja Wars, many of our clansmen died, and there were only a small handful left when the Kyuubi attacked. I am sorry to say that they were among the first to have died that night, and that you are all that is left of our great clan. I know you will continue to bring honor to the clan, my son, and I love you and wish you a happy life. Your Otosan. Namake's Minato, Yandame Hogake, Konoha no Kiroi Senko, Konoha's Yellow Flash. Naruto finished reading the scroll, amazed at the potential of his father's bloodline, and with his healing ability it would make his body stronger faster. He rolled it back up and opened his Okasan's scroll next. To Naruchan, our bloodline is possibly one of the strongest in the world. The reason is because of the countless possibilities with it. Our bloodline was a gift from the goddess of the elements. This means that she granted us the use of the ability to control and master fire, wind, earth, water, and lighting. Some members of the clan were able to combine two elements once they mastered them to create a sub-element. One, for example, would be Mokuton. That's right, we have the ability to use part of the Shodai's fabled bloodline. This certain element would be a combination of earth and water. Another possibility is water and wind to create Hayatan Jutsus. There used to be a bloodline clan that used Hayatan in Kirigakure, but I don't know if any members are still alive due to the bloodline wars that the Yandame Mizukage started killing off bloodline users. Now, because of our bloodline, we were hunted down and killed during the Third Great Shinobi War. Our homeland was destroyed by a joint attack by IWA and Kumo, and we managed to save most of the civilians, but I was the only member who survived from my clan. Our clan is from Yuzu no Kuni Naruto. This is a special place because it is the last true kingdom. Our clan were the rulers of Yuzu no Kuni. My parents were the king and queen of the country. I was their only child and royal princess, and next in line for the throne, and that would make you a royal prince. Since I am gone, that makes you the next in line for the throne. I know this is a lot to take in, and I'm not saying you have to take the position, but as long as our clan lives, then so does Yuzu no Kuni. Also, last I heard, the castle of the royal house was still standing, and in the throne room is the sword of the Uzumaki clan. Only someone with Uzumaki blood and only the ruler may wield the sword. This sword is known throughout the elemental nations to any sword master or any aspiring to be sword master. This is because it is the strongest sword in existence. It was a gift from the legendary summons of the Dragon Clan. The sword is indestructible and you can channel elemental chakra through it. If you do decide to restore our homeland, you must keep the sword out of view until you're ready to claim your birthright. I suggest making a seal on your wrist and sealing it in there. I told your father about my past after we got married, and the only person who knows of your full heritage is the Fire Daimyo, since the Namake's clan has been allied with Fire Country since shortly after its beginning, and Minato was like a son to him, and sent a letter to him explaining how he planned to defeat the Kyuubi, and about who you are, and he will inform his successor if you do not contact him before he retires or dies. Before you get angry that he didn't come to get you, no, he couldn't, because that would have raised questions and could have started the Fourth Great Shinobi War. Well, I believe that's it. I love you, Naruto, and live a happy life. Your Okasan. Namake's Uzumaki Kushina, Konoha's Red Death. Naruto reread that scroll a few times and was shocked at what he found out. He was royalty? He was fucking royalty. He laughed so hard at that. He was definitely going to rebuild his ancestors' homeland. He couldn't wait to see the look on the villagers' faces when they found out. He opened the mental link and called out to Kyuubi. Hey Q-chan, have you been paying attention the past few minutes? He asked excitedly. Sorry Naruto, I've been planning your training. Why, what's going on? He smirked. He sat down and closed his eyes, entering his mindscape. He saw Kyuubi standing in front of him looking as beautiful as ever. He still had that smirk on his face, and when she noticed it she raised an eyebrow. She looked at him and said, well, are you going to tell me? He continued smirking and said, look through my memories for the past 10 minutes. She nodded and he watched her face as it went from intrigue from his father's bloodline to amazement to his mother's bloodline to outright shock from her origins. She still had a shocked face when she settled on his still smirking face. He chuckled at her face and said, well, what do you think? That broke her out of her trance, and said the only thing that came to mind, well, fuck, that's awesome. You have the potential to be the strongest person on the planet Narukuin. And you are fucking royalty. I actually remember Yuzuno Kuni. I can't believe I could have missed something like that. I mean, your mother's maiden name is fucking Uzumaki, she said, then broke out laughing with Naruto along with her. That was definitely one of his favorite memories. It was the start of a new year and the start of the third month of training, and Kyubi had Naruto start on the tree climbing exercise and up his physical training. Instead of 50 sets of everything, she had him do 100, and instead of 10 laps she increased it to 15. Naruto continued cleaning up the grounds on his days off and found seeds for flowers in a greenhouse that was used for making poisons and antidotes. He found out he had quite a green thumb and enjoyed gardening as it helped relax him. It was March now and the 5th month of Naruto's training. It was his first Sunday off, and he decided to leave the compound and take a stroll/run through the forest. He was coming across the Hyuga compound and noticed a person jumping over the wall with a bundle that looked like it was moving. He had heard of the Kumo delegation coming to Konoha for a treaty, and also how they wanted the Byakugan. Deciding to take the risk, he followed the person, and once he got close enough he noticed the headband was from Kumo, and he was sure there was something alive in the bag. He crept up closer to hear what the man was saying when he stopped. How the plan was perfect. Now that we've got a Byakugan and the heiress herself, we can breed her and start our own army of Byakugan wielders in Kumo, and I'll be regarded as a hero for capturing her. He laughed, and was about to start running again when a voice caught his attention. Naruto was pissed at what he just heard. He loathed many things in life, and rape was one of his top things. He noticed the man was about to run again, so he made his presence known. You know, you shouldn't just yell out your plans like that in the middle of a shinobi village. You never know who's around. The Kumonin looked behind him and noticed a kid who could be no older than 10. He laughed at Naruto and said, "What do you think you're doing, Gaki? You think you can take me on? I'm an elite jounin." He continued to laugh but stopped when a fist connected with his face, making him drop the bag and flew back a few feet. He stood up and glared at Naruto. "Not bad, brat. I was just going to let you run along, but for that I think I'll kill you." He charged Naruto, his right hand cocked back, and threw it at Naruto, who dodged it barely and kicked the man in the chest. He stumbled back and charged at Naruto again, this time drawing out a kunai. Naruto knew he couldn't beat someone of his caliber, and quickly began drawing as much chakra as he could. He sent a flare of his chakra, knowing anyone within a mile would be able to feel it. The Kumonin registered what Naruto just did and grew more upset. "Damn you, brat. I don't have much time now. I need to kill you and take the girl and get out of here." He charged Naruto one last time with his kunai, and Naruto charged chakra to his hands, remembering how the Sannin Tsunade was able to multiply her strength doing it. He charged the nin and caught the hand with the kunai and threw his other chakra-enhanced fist right at the nin's face. He watched amazed at the power behind it. The man flew back, hitting a tree, and was knocked out. He snapped out of his trance when he heard a patrol approaching his location, and knew that he had to run. With one quick glance at the nin and the bag, he hightailed it out of there. 10 seconds later, an ANBU squad landed and looked around the area. They noticed the Kumo delegate knocked out, and the bag that was moving. The captain ordered his men to detain the delegate for questioning, and he moved to the bag. He opened it and found the Hyuga heiress bound and gagged with tears in her eyes. He took them off and said, "It's okay now. You're going to be okay." With that, he ordered his squad to take the man to torture and interrogation, while he returned the girl back to her mother and father. Yes, Hinata's mother lives. Days later, the head of TNI, torture and interrogation, named Ibiki, managed to pry the information from the Kumo delegate about his mission. The Reikage, of course, denied such a mission, and the Kumonin was executed, and the village of Kumogakure had a trade embargo placed on it for 3 years. No one knew who it was that saved the young heiress, as no one had recognized the chakra signature before. When Naruto had returned home after the fight, he fell asleep and appeared in his mindscape. He looked around till he found Kyubi lying down by the waterfall. He walked over to her and sat next to her. She looked at him and smiled. "I'm proud of you, Naruto. You took on an opponent that was much stronger and experienced than you. Although the only reason you didn't die was because of luck, and although luck is important, is the ninja world, skill is much more important. As a reward, I think you are ready for your first ninjutsu technique. This is a very special technique called Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. It is a kenjutsu, which you know means it's a forbidden technique. The reason is because it takes a large amount of chakra to perform, and because of possible brain damage. But because of your insane large reserves and your high IQ, healing ability, and with me in here, you don't need to worry about the brain damage. What this technique does is create solid clones of the original, splitting your reserves in half. Also, anything that the clone learns is transferred back to the original. Can you tell me what benefits this might have in your training?" Naruto looked at her and said, "If anything it learns is sent back to the original, then that means it can be used for things like chakra control exercises, ninjutsu, reading multiple books at once, and I suppose taijutsu and kenjutsu training, right?" She nodded her head and said, "That's right. Of course, you'll have to continue increasing your speed and strength on your own, but with the possibility of Kage Bunshins included in your training, you could learn something in a month that usually takes years." She smiled at his shocked face and closed his jaw. "Now why don't you go to sleep and rest, because when you wake up we will increase your training and I'll teach you the 3 academy-style jutsus that they need to be able to do to pass." He nodded and laid his head in her lap and quickly dozed off. She smiled at him and ran her hand through his hair and went to sleep herself. After Naruto woke up and got ready for training, he went outside and heard Kyubi say, "Alright Naruto, before I teach you the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, I'm going to teach you those 3 academy level jutsu first. To do the Kawarimi no Jutsu, put your hands in the following hand seals: ram, boar, ox, dog, snake, and then use your chakra to surround something and then pull it towards you and you should replace with that object. If you get good enough, you can overpower the chakra of another ninja and use the technique on them. Now for the Henj no Jutsu, use the hand seals: dog, boar, tiger, and then think of what you want to look like down to every detail and poof, you'll look like whatever you think of. Get good enough at that and suppressing your chakra and you can fool almost anybody. The final technique you might have some problems with for now because it requires such a small amount of chakra to use. This jutsu is called Bunshin no Jutsu. Unlike the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, these clones are not solid and don't transfer whatever they learn. When you are able to create one clone, you will have high Jounin level chakra control. These are the hand seals: ram, snake, and tiger. With her showing the hand seal through the link, he gave a mental nod and started working on the jutsu. An hour later, he managed to do the first 2 jutsu to a decent degree but could only get as low as 50 clones for the 3rd jutsu before messing up. He was about to try again when Kyubi spoke up. That's good for now, Naruto. Let's get started on the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Now here are the correct hand seals: tiger with left and right, adjust to form cross. Pour as much chakra into the technique to see how many you can create for now. He gave her a mental nod and started practicing the jutsu. After about 30 minutes, he finally produced results. He opened his eyes and looked around. He looked around at his copies and heard Kyubi speak again. Good job, Naruto. You did the technique in record time and managed to create 100 clones with only being slight-winded. Not even most Jounin could make that many. Alright, I want you to order 10 clones to head to the clan library and start reading basics for sealing, then start making seals themselves. I want 20 clones to practice the Kawarimi no Jutsu and another 20 to practice the Henji no Jutsu. I want the rest to practice the chakra control exercises we've been doing by combining them together. He relayed Kyubi's orders to the clones and started his training. After the end of the day, he decided to see how many clones he could create before he messed up. He did the hand seals and spoke in a calm voice: Bunshin no Jutsu. He looked around and saw he only managed to reduce the number to 48. He was about to complain when Kyubi interrupted him. Don't worry about it, Naruto. You showed improvement in only 1 day and you have years of training ahead of you, so take your time and don't worry about it. He calmed down and replied, You're right. Sorry, Q-chan. I don't know what I'd do without you. She smiled and blushed at the praise but didn't respond. It was now June and Naruto's 8th month of training. Kyubi had taught him some taijutsu in his mindscape at the beginning of his 6th month and would practice it with his clones. He was able to create 300 now and had them doing various things, improving his skills. He took up learning how to hunt and how to build, as well as learning to cook better meals. He sent more clones to the library as well to learn about the history of the village and the rest of the elemental nations. He also sent a clone to appear in the village every now and then to deter any suspicion of his whereabouts. With the help of his clones, he was able to finish cleaning up the houses and lands as well as exploring more of the area. Kyubi had once again upped his physical training to 200 sets of everything and 25 laps, equaling about 2.5 miles every day. He still rested on Sunday, and there was no stopping him from his pilgrimage to Ichiraku Ramen either on that day. Sarutobi and a lot of others had noticed that Naruto was getting stronger, and when questioned where he's been during the rest of the week, he replied, at training grounds that aren't being used and away from the village to train myself, with a shrug. He had told his Gigi that he was practicing the academy level jutsu, and Sarutobi was shocked that Naruto had already unlocked his chakra. When he questioned Naruto about how he knew these things, he said that he had spied on some classes from the academy and watched some students train. Sarutobi wondered if he should enroll Naruto early in the academy. The boy seemed like a prodigy, more so than his father. He knew it would raise hell when Naruto would enter the academy at the normal age of 8, and if he enrolled him earlier there would be an uproar from those who hated the boy. Before he even filled out the paperwork, he asked Naruto this question. He was expecting for the boy to shout and say yes while jumping all over the place. He was not expecting the boy to shake his head and say no. The old man asked with confusion on his face, why do you not want to enter the academy early, Naruto-kun? You could be the youngest person to ever graduate from there. From what you have told me, you know things and are able to do things that a final year student should know. Naruto just kept a neutral face and said, because I have learned more on my own with Q-chan's help, of course, than I probably would 4 years in the academy. I have left the village alone for 8 months, and yet the people still hate me. I still want to become the best Hokage this village has seen and will see, but I also want to become the best ninja in the world. I have no doubt that the teachers in the academy would try to hamper my education, so I'm training and learning as much as I can now, so I will not be left behind once I do join. Sarutobi just listened to the words of his Magama-suko. Not even people twice his age spoke so well. The more he listened, the more he had to sadly agree in his heart and mind that the boy spoke the truth. If only those damn fools would just look at the boy and not the demon, then they would have seen the unfathomable depths of potential this child has. He took a long drag of his pipe and agreed. It was now August and the 10th month of Naruto's training. Overall, if Kyubi had to guess, she'd put Naruto at high genin level. His speed and strength were low chunin. Ninjutsu was mid-genin with still only the 3 academy-level jutsu and the Kage Bunshin no jutsu in his arsenal. Speaking of the academy jutsu, he has mastered the first 2 jutsu to a point without hand seals and has lowered the amounts of clones to 40 before he messes up thanks to his constant use of his now 400 shadow clones, and now low jounin chakra reserves. He can fire kunai and shuriken at all 8 lethal points if standing still at the same time and is improving for moving targets. He has low chunin knowledge on seals and his taijutsu is mid-genin level as well. The only thing he is lacking is experience, which is why she has brought up this current conversation. Naruto-kun, I want to say that I'm very proud of you. You've come very far in 10 months. If I had to overall guess your current skills, I'd say high genin. Sure, you are higher in some areas and lower in others, but that can be changed through more training. The only thing that more training cannot change is experience. If you had Kage level skills and no experience, and were fighting a veteran jounin, then more than likely the jounin would win, and you'd be dead. You currently have enough training and survival skills to live on your own, and I am thinking that either on your birthday or shortly after it that you leave the village to continue your training. Naruto looked at her wide-eyed. He couldn't deny that what she said made sense, and he's practically been living on his own since he was born. He wanted to say no to the idea, but he knew it was the most logical idea. He took a deep breath and said, I agree with your idea. We'll need to start preparing then if we leave, because Gigi's not just going to let me walk out of the village. She nodded her head and said, I will up your training till you have no energy to even breathe. You should start making a list of the things we'll need and the places you want to visit or stay away from. We should also study the patrols at night to make our escape easier. He sighed and nodded. So much to do in so little time. It was a week from the intended day. They had decided to leave the night of his birthday while the villagers get drunk and the shinobi have to pay more attention to the inside of the village to keep order than the outside. He had sealed every book, scroll, and note that were in the library and put them in part of his mindscape that was a duplicate of the library in the clan house after Kyubi taught him a dimensional storage jutsu. He took the remaining food in the mansion, including in the storage seals in the pantry, and put them in his mindscape as well after recreating the preservation seals. He found out that they were pretty easy to create. He stored several sets of clothes and various other supplies and scrolls that he was going to carry on him. He also found some odd small square pieces of paper that he stored as well. Kyubi told him that they were chakra papers that are used to determine what elemental affinity you have. Even though he knew he had the ability to use all 5 main elements, it would still help him determine which was his strongest affinity and his weakest. He and Kyubi agreed to maintain his rigorous physical training for the first 4 days, then the next day a light workout, while keeping up his chakra control exercises during each training. He spent the 6th day with his precious people while keeping up his guard since his birthday was only 1 day away and some people might want to give him an early birthday present. Today was the day. His 6th birthday, and the day he leaves the village hidden in the leaves to continue his training. He spent the entire day checking and rechecking, making sure he had everything he needed and didn't leave anything behind. He dressed in all black as the sun set, placing the scrolls in his vest, and placed a black mask on his face covering his whisker marks. He strapped the twin kodachis that belonged to his mother on his back at his waist that she used in Anbu as Konoha's Red Death that he'd been practicing with for the past 2 months. The sun had set and he'd seen the fireworks signaling the beginning of the festival of Kyubi's defeat. He walked out of the mansion towards the gate, and before opening the gate took a long look at his home he'd be leaving for many years after only living there for less than a year. He took a deep breath and opened the gate, walking out and relocking the gate. He listened to it lock, then jumped into the trees, making his way towards the east side of the village for his escape, while creating a shadow clone and giving it a message to give to its target, unaware of the danger that awaits him ahead. Another person was planning his move tonight. The destruction of his clan. This man is Uchiha Itachi. He took out his katana, killing his first victim, and continued his onslaught. As Naruto neared his escape route, he passed the Uchiha complex and smelt something that shook him to the core. Blood, he thought. He took out one of his kodachis and slowly began his way into the compound. When he arrived, he almost puked at what he saw. Bodies. Bodies everywhere, covered in blood with limbs missing from that person or that person or that person. He could still hear screams, so he steeled himself and continued him. Uchiha Mikoto could not believe what she was seeing. Her eldest son was slaughtering his own clan, killing even the children. She watched as her husband demanded to know what he was doing. He simply replied, testing my abilities. Fugaku charged at him but was only his next victim. She ran out of the house looking for help. She knew she was no match for her son even if she was one of the strongest kunoichi in the village. She felt a pain in her leg resulting her in falling down. She looked and saw a kunai stuck in it. She looked back up into the fully matured Sharingan of her son. She closed her eyes as she saw him lifting his sword ready to kill her. She waited for 3 seconds when she heard a clang. Naruto sped through the complex when the screams stopped. He prayed that there were survivors. As he turned a corner, he saw a man raise his sword and prepare to kill a woman on the ground in front of him. He charged chakra to his legs and sped forward, hoping to make it in time. The assailant's sword was just 3 inches from her head when she opened her eyes from the noise to find what looked like a boy in black, no older than her youngest, with a kodachi held against her son's sword. She didn't move, too frightened from her son trying to kill her, and where this mysterious boy came from. Naruto let a quick sigh of relief internally when he made in time. He pushed the attacker back and yelled, "Who are you and why are you attacking a clan of Konoha?" When Naruto looked closer, he noticed the person's eyes and gasped. This was the result of the power that didn't belong to this clan. Naruto looked into his eyes and said, "Tell me your name, Uchiha." Itachi was quite surprised when someone blocked his sword from killing his mother. He was even more surprised when it looked like someone no older than his younger brother, but the strength behind that push was remarkable for one his age and was even greater than him at that age. He was snapped out of his thoughts when the boy gasped, finally noticing his eyes and the "Tell me your name, Uchiha." Itachi looked at his opponent that was in a standard sword stance. "My name is Itachi. May I ask the name of the person who has shown being worthy of proving my abilities?" Naruto looked at the newly named Itachi. He had heard of this person. Graduated the academy at the age of 7, made Chunin at 10 and finally ANBU captain at 13. This person was way out of his league. Naruto looked at his opponent and said, "No, you may not know my name for now. But if I survive this, and we meet again, I will give you my name." Itachi nodded at that and then charged Naruto when his katana at his side. Naruto blocked the strike and attempted to kick him but was too slow, and was punched by Itachi's free hand. Naruto jumped out of the way as Itachi threw several shuriken at him that summoned 50 clones that temporarily shocked Itachi as he found out that these were shadow clones. He made quick work of them only to find his opponent and his mother gone. He picked up their trail and followed them. Naruto picked up the woman as his clones took care of Itachi. He knew that it wouldn't take him long to defeat his clones, so as he ran with the woman in his arms, he summoned his chakra and sent a flare that would be felt throughout Konoha. It took only another 5 seconds for Itachi to catch up. Naruto looked at him and said, "I'm sure you felt my chakra flare. Every ninja in Konoha should be on their way here. If you leave now, you still have a chance to escape." Itachi was not pleased but left, leaving his mother alive, and by luck ran into Sasuke and completed his second objective by morphing his eyes into the Mangekyo Sharingan, and used Tsukuyami to show every person he killed and fucked up his mind. With that finished, Itachi left the village. Back with Naruto, he took out one of his scrolls labeled medical supplies and quickly bandaged up the woman's leg. He looked into her eyes and blushed a bit at finally seeing how beautiful she looked. He quickly erased that thought and said, "The wound isn't that bad, but you should still get a professional to check it out in case the kunai was poisoned or to make sure it doesn't get infected." Mikoto just nodded, not trusting her voice as she stared into those amazing blue orbs called eyes. She saw him put the scroll back in his vest and got ready to leave. She quickly blurted out Mikoto. When she saw him raise an eyebrow, she blushed. "That's my name. Uchiha Mikoto. Thank you for saving me." She could see him smiling under his mask as he responded, "Stay strong, Mikoto-chan." "Stay strong," and with that he sped off in the same direction Itachi left. She blushed at the chan suffix. She was brought out of her daze as the Hokage and several ANBU and other ninja arrived, shocked at what they saw. Sarutobi saw the Uchiha matriarch still alive and rushed over to her. "Mikoto-chan, what happened here?" Mikoto looked up to the man's face and said, "Itachi, he killed them all. He killed off his own clan. If it wasn't for that boy, then I would be dead too." Sarutobi was shocked at what he heard. He quickly ordered everyone to search for survivors as he took Mikoto to the hospital. There she told him of her savior, and he was even more shocked. But what really got him was the description. A boy no older than 8 with blue eyes and blonde hair. He knew it was possible that it could have been a Yamanaka or even a henge, but his gut told him otherwise. He bid the woman a quick goodbye and get well and used a quick Shunshin no Jutsu and quickly arrived at his office. He was about to use his crystal ball to look for Naruto when he spotted a kunai with a paper around it on his desk. Quickly dismissing it as an exploding tag, he unwrapped the paper and saw it was a message. "Dear Gigi, I am sorry to say this, but by the time you read this I'll be out of the village. I have chosen to do this to further my training. I'll be able to gather experience, and probably some cool techniques. I promise I will survive and get stronger. I will return before what would have been the day of my class's graduation test. Don't you dare die on me because I still need to kick your ass and take that hat. Love your Magamasuko, Uzumaki Naruto. P.S. I know you can't do anything since I'm not a ninja and only a citizen. Remember to remind the council, especially the civilian council and elders as well as that old one-arm one-eye guy that, and give my blessings to the shinobi council." Sarutobi let a tear fall from his eye as he finished reading the letter. He knew now that it was Naruto who stopped Itachi from killing Mikoto. He was so proud that his grandson was already so strong and from that chakra flare earlier had quite a bit of chakra already. He steeled himself and called forth one of his ANBU to gather the council and alert them of what has happened. He chuckled to himself. Quite a genius plan for both of them to use this day for their plans. Naruto was already 20 miles from Konoha when he stopped to take a rest. He definitely wasn't planning on doing that during his escape from Konoha. He continued running for a few more hours before he found a place to lie down and go to sleep. It would definitely be an interesting few years. It has been 2 years now since Naruto left Konoha. He has been staying within Fire Country so far but stayed close to the border in case he had to hightail it out of there. It seemed that Sarutobi had managed to convince the council shortly after the Uchiha massacre to up the graduation age after he had heard while traveling through the capital that Konoha had risen the graduation age at the academy to 15 now instead of 12 and the other ninja villages were contemplating it as well. He was glad about this as it gave him more time to train, and he always thought like Sarutobi that 12 was too young to have kids start killing. Hopefully with the extra 3 years they'll be more prepared for the real world, he thought. About a year and a half in their travels, Kyubi had him start training with the chakra weights he had brought with him. He currently had 50 pounds on each limb to increase his speed and strength, and 75 pounds on his waist to increase his flexibility. Kyubi had told him on his 8th birthday that she would put him at mid-chunin level. He had high chunin strength and speed. Ninjutsu was still mid-genin as he hadn't learned anything else except the Shunshin no Jutsu and Taijutsu Bunshin no Jutsu, which he can create roughly 1,500 clones with. His Taijutsu was low chunin level, high genin genjutsu thanks to his chakra control, has low jounin knowledge of seals, and his chakra reserves are high jounin. His control was getting better, and was able to get as low as creating 30 bunshins before messing up. Kyubi had told him that they would start working on his ninjutsu starting on his 9th birthday. He was currently walking down a dirt road on his way towards a town to pick up some supplies. He was chatting with Kyubi when he came upon a scene. There were 30 samurai guarding a carriage, and in front of them were roughly 50 bandits, and leading them looked like 3 shinobi that had slashes across their hatite. He inspected it, and noticed they were leaf ninja. The oldest one was in his early 20s and was wearing a chunin vest while the other 2 looked like genin. The oldest and apparent leader ordered the bandits to charge while he and the other 2 went around attempting to flank them. Naruto watched on wondering what to do. He noticed the bandits were no match against the samurai's training, which left the 3 ninja to him. He saw them jump from the trees heading toward the back of the carriage. He quickly drew 2 kunai and threw them at the genin, and watched as they dropped dead with the kunai in the back of their skull. Surprised at what just happened to his allies, the chunin-looking man quickly stopped and spun around, putting his kunai in front of him in a defensive position. He noted his target was only a boy, but also noted by his posture he had shinobi training. Not taking any chances, he rushed toward Naruto. Naruto noticed the man charging him and threw some shuriken at him, only for the man to block them. He charged the man as they locked with their kunai against each other. The man attempted to punch Naruto in the head, only for him to duck and swing his leg around, knocking the man on the ground. The man quickly rolled out of the way when Naruto's leg came coming down and left a small crater at its impact. The man jumped up and went through some hand seals, yelling out Katan, Kukaku no Jutsu, and sent a decent-sized fireball at Naruto, who used Shunshin no Jutsu to appear behind the man and stab his kunai into the man's skull. As Naruto looked around, he noticed that the samurai had finished off the bandits, with only a few scratches here and there, and were watching him with their swords still out. With the adrenaline gone, he looked back down at the 3 men he just killed. Killed, he thought. He watched as the blood continued to pool by their bodies. His eyes widened and he suddenly ran over to a bush and threw up. As he was doing this, he didn't hear the door open from the carriage and 2 people step out. One was a man and the other a woman, who both were dressed in very expensive clothing. The 2 watched as the young boy ran to the side of the road and threw up. The woman ran over to him and pulled him into a hug. Naruto was startled when he was pulled into a hug, but didn't feel any ill intentions from the person, and slowly fell asleep in what he now deduced woman's arms from physical and mental exhaustion. She gently picked him up and let his red rest on her shoulder and walked back to the group. The man watched his wife comfort the boy and walk back to them. He heard the captain of the guards speak. Judging by the way he fought, I'd say the boy has had ninja training. Pretty advanced training too for someone his age to be able to take down 2 genin level nukenin and 1 chunin level nukenin. The man nodded his head and added, I agree. Judging from his reactions, I'd say that he just made his first kill today as well. Take care of the bodies. Find out who the ninja were and send a report of their identities to Konoha that 3 of their nukenin have been taken care of. Do not mention the boy in the report. We will also be taking the boy with us. I'm sure my wife will want to make sure he's okay when he wakes up. The captain saluted the man and said, Hi, Lord Nobunaga. As his wife stood next to him, he got a good look at the boy. If he is who I think he is, then it's not that surprising at how strong he is already. He thought. Let's put him in the carriage. We'll take him with us to the vacation house and take care of him there. His wife nodded at him and gave him a kiss on the lips before stepping back into the carriage, him following right behind her. When Naruto woke up and noticed he was in a room, he looked around and spotted his equipment on a table, so he got up and put them on and left the room. As he walked down a set of steps, he spotted a man resting on a couch in the living room and a woman making something in the kitchen. He coughed to get their attention once he reached the bottom of the steps. The woman looked at him with a smile on her face as she walked over to him and hugged him. He was a bit shocked but hugged her back. After a few seconds, she pulled back and asked, How are you doing? Are you hurting anywhere? Naruto shook his head and said, No, ma'am, I'm fine. Thank you. Could you tell me where we are and who might you be? She herded him over to a table and sat him down. He noticed the man sit up from the couch and took a seat next to him at the table. She asked Naruto, Would you like anything, sweetie? Naruto looked up at her. Would tea be okay? She smiled at him and said, "Be right up." The man coughed to get his attention and said, "I'd like to thank you, young man, for protecting my wife and I from those bandits and ninja. Even though those bandits were no match for my guard, if it weren't for you, some men might have lost their lives against those ninja." Naruto looked down, remembering those that he killed. He felt a hand on his shoulder and looked up to see the man looking at him with a small, sad smile. "I'm guessing that was the first time you have ever taken a life?" Naruto shook his head. "Yes," he said, and looked back down. The man put his hand under his chin and lifted his head. "I know it is hard, but from what I have seen you do so far, I am guessing you wish to be a ninja. If you choose to live that life, there will be more who die at your hand, but as long as you don't enjoy killing, then things will be alright." Naruto listened to the man's words and felt slightly better before saying, "Arigato. You still haven't told me who you are and where we are." The man looked at him with a twinkle in his eye. "Yes, excuse my manners. We are at one of our vacation houses, and that would be my wife, Madame Shirjimi, and I am Nobunaga, daimyo of Hai no Kuni," he said. He looked at the boy's shocked face before chuckling. "And by your appearance I would say you are Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, correct?" Now his wife was shocked before she ran over to Naruto, hugged him to her, and saying, "This is little Naruto. Oh, he's adorable. He looks just like his father," she ranted on. Nobunaga chuckled at his wife's antics before liberating the boy from her grip. "Honey, is the tea ready yet?" She blushed and said, "I'll be right back." With her heading back to the kitchen, Naruto seated himself in the chair before looking at the man. "Are you really the fire daimyo?" "Yes, Naruto, I am. I'm sorry for what has happened to you. There were so many times when I told myself to screw everything else and take you with me, but I knew that even though Minato and Kushina loved you, they would have killed me if I took you with me, most likely starting the Fourth Great Shinobi World War once your identity leaked out. By the way, Sarutobi sent me a letter shortly after you left the village. He was truly upset but understood your reasons for leaving." As Naruto was listening to him, Shirjimi returned with 3 cups of tea and took a seat at the table, joining them. He looked to both of them and said, "So now what?" Nobunaga looked at him and said, "When you feel like it, you are free to go to continue your training. Just remember, you are always welcome in our home and can come to us whenever you need help." Shirjimi just nodded her head and smiled at him. Naruto spent a week with them learning about his parents. He gave them each a hug and promised to visit them again before he returned to Konoha. Nobunaga told him before he left, "Don't worry, I have already told my guards to not mention a thing about you here or in the report I sent to Sarutobi about those missing nin." Naruto nodded his thanks and left to continue his training. It was 6 months before his 9th birthday and Naruto was planning on leaving Fire Country. He decided he was going to travel the world while training, spending about a year in each of the other great shinobi countries, starting by heading west, traveling through River Country towards Wind Country, then traveling north toward Bird Country, then east through Rain Country, Grass Country, and Waterfall Country, next to Earth Country, then double back traveling toward the ruined kingdom of his ancestors to make plans for it, then traveling to Lightning Country. After that south to Water Country with Nagi Island next, then leaving by ship from Ozu Island to Sea Country. Then finally catch a ship north to Tea Country and traveling up north through the country back towards Fire Country. He was about to depart when Kyubi spoke to him. "Naruto, since we've decided on this course of action, I think we should use those chakra papers and find out how your elemental affinities play out instead of on your next birthday as planned." Naruto gave her a mental nod and took out a piece of paper from one of the pockets on his vest. "Just apply chakra, then watch what happens, correct?" Kyubi replied. "That's right. It splits in half if wind, crumbles if lightning, gets soggy if water, burns if fire, and turns to dust for earth." Naruto nodded his head and started applying his chakra to the paper. He watched in fascination and confusion, and Kyubi in shock at what happened. It started with the paper getting sliced in two, then the upper portion of the left side got soggy, the upper portion of the right side turned to dust, the middle portion of the left one burned, the middle portion of the right one crumbled up, followed by the lower part of the left one shining, then the lower part of the right one turned completely black. After a few minutes he spoke to her through their connection. "Alright, so my strongest affinity is wind, followed by water, earth, fire, and lighting. That I get, but what the hell were those last two?" Kyubi was shaken from her shock when Naruto spoke to her. She shakily replied, "I don't know how this is possible, but those last two were the other main elements." She was cut off as Naruto asked her other main elements. "I thought that there were only 5 main elements." "No. There are actually 7 main elements. The 5 well-known elements, and then the other 2. Light and dark." Naruto replied, "Light and dark? I've never heard of those before. Is the darkness element like the bloodline the Nara use?" Kyubi shook her head. "They use a much weakened version of the darkness element." Naruto just stood there, then thought, how come I have never heard of these elements before? "That is because these elements haven't been used in centuries. The only human who was able to use those elements was the Rikudo Sennin," Kyubi replied. Naruto just shook his head at the new information and said, "Well, for now we'll leave it at that. Maybe you can go through your memories to see if you know of any ninjutsu he used with those elements. I'd rather wait till I have a good grasp on the others first before I even start on those 2. Kyubi gave him a mental nod and said, "Will do, Naruto." Naruto was a week from the border between Fire and River Country. He noticed there was a storm approaching fast, so he looked around for some cover. He eventually found a cave entrance that was covered in vines. He cut them out of the way with a kunai and walked in when it just started pouring. He continued into the tunnel when he noticed a red glow at the other end. As he got closer to it, the hotter it got in the cave. He figured there must be a magma flow running through the cave and guessed right when he exited the tunnel and entered a large room and saw the lava. It was quite a sight. But when he looked back up, he was amazed at what he saw. On the other side of the room, carved in the wall, was a picture of a phoenix, and with the glow from the magma it looked quite real. He noticed that in its mouth looked what appeared to be a scroll. He looked around and noticed that the only way to get there was to travel along the walls. He applied chakra to his feet and began walking up the wall, then towards the scroll. As he got closer, he could see the details in the carving, and when he approached the scroll, took it out of its mouth, wary of any traps. When he landed in front of the tunnel again, he opened the scroll and noticed that it was a summoning scroll, but there were no names on it. Kyubi was watching Naruto and was surprised when she saw the phoenix. She had a pretty good idea at what summon that scroll was for. "Nikyu-chan, how do I sign this contract?" Kyubi was a little hesitant in replying. If this was what she thought it was, then it would be a powerful ally if Naruto succeeded. She knew, though, if anyone could do this, then her Naruto could. "Draw some blood and write your name in the first slot in the scroll, followed by leaving your fingerprints for the hand you're going to use for the summoning. After that, do these hand seals: boar, dog, bird, monkey, and ram. Then draw some blood again on your hand, then apply as much chakra as you can for your first time and slam your hand onto the ground and say Kuchios no Jutsu." Kyubi informed him. He did as instructed and summoned as much chakra before he slammed his bloody hand on the ground, yelling Kuchios no Jutsu. A large puff of smoke appeared, covering most of the room. As it dissipated, his eyes were wide at what he saw. It was a phoenix, and it was huge, about the same size as the famous Gamabunta when its wings weren't stretched out. He was shaken out of his stupor when it spoke. "I see someone has finally signed the phoenix summoning contract." It looked down at Naruto and said, "And a very young summoner as well. I can sense great power within you, but before I let you use my clan you must pass a test." Naruto looked at the creature and said, "Test? What kind of test?" The phoenix looked at him in the eye and said, "A test of the heart. We of the Phoenix clan are one of the 4 legendary summons. To be able to use us, the summoner must have a pure heart and soul. Do you wish to continue this test? If you shall fail, you will die. To keep the location of the scroll safe." Naruto looked the phoenix in its fiery eyes with his own burning with determination. "I accept. I will not fail. I have too much to do to die now, and I won't let Kyo-chan die either." The phoenix said, "Very well. We shall see if you are worthy of the phoenix contract," and with that Naruto was engulfed in fire. The phoenix watched through Naruto's memories and watched as his heart and soul remained pure and became only stronger. It was quite surprised when it saw Shinigami and how he has the light and dark elements. It knew that this boy would make a great ally of the Phoenix clan, and that the gods must have plans for the child, since the more matured of the Phoenix clan are able to use the light element, including itself. It concluded the test and watched as the flames left the boy. "Congratulations, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. You are the first summoner of the Phoenix clan. As I said earlier, we are one of the 4 legendary summons. I am quite surprised at what you have gone through so far. I believe we can also help you with your light affinity when you start training in it, as the more matured phoenixes within the clan, including myself, are able to use this element. I expect great things from you, child. Practice summoning with different levels of chakra to see what you summon. Before I leave, let me tell you who I am. I am the boss of the Phoenix clan, Fenikusu." Naruto nodded his head and said, "Arigato for giving me a chance, Fenikusu-sama. No need for formalities, child. I am much too old to care about those." Fenikusu chuckled. "Until next time, Fenikusu," Naruto said. The boss phoenix nodded and disappeared back to the summon world. When Naruto went back to the entrance to the cave, he saw it was still raining, so he decided to take a nap after everything that's happened. When he opened his eyes, he saw the smiling face of Kyubi. She tackled him and hugged him to her ample bosom, with him having a small blush. No matter how many times that happens, he just can't get rid of how good it feels. She pulled away from him and said, "You're amazing, Naruto. You have signed the contract of one of the legendary summons. I had a good idea that was who it belonged to, but I knew if anyone could gain their trust it would be you." He smiled at her as she hugged him to her bosom again. "Yup, today is definitely a good day," he thought. Naruto had made good time crossing through river country. He decided to stay for a month there, working on his water manipulation before training for a year in wind country. He learned a few Suiten jutsu too from the scrolls he brought with him. He was able to get his manipulation to high genin level before he left. He spent the next year working on his wind manipulation. He would stay at small towns and staying away from Suna as often as he could, but would drop by when he needed supplies they couldn't provide. He managed to get his wind manipulation to high chunin level and had quite a list of futon jutsu as well, ranging from C-rank techniques like futon Daitapa to Suna's prized A-rank technique Kaze no Yaiba that he was able to see a Suna jounin named Baki perform. He also continued practicing summoning different levels of phoenixes. The younger ones were quite excited to meet a human, while the older ones sometimes helped him on his wind manipulation training. He had also met the daimyo of the country after he had heard how Naruto was defeating bandits roaming his country. He and Naruto got along very well and became quick friends. Naruto had asked him to keep his identity a secret before he left. He agreed and welcomed Naruto to his country and home anytime he wanted. Naruto spent about a couple months traveling through bird country, rain country, Grass Country and Waterfall Country, meeting the daimyos of each country and becoming friends after defending them from bandits or defending towns from bandits through his travels. While in Bird Country, he met the children of Daimyo Owishi, Toki, who he took a quick liking to, and her twin brother Sagi. He avoided Aim as he did not want to deal with the legendary ninja Sansho no Hanzo who defeated Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru in their prime together with his summon, and was the one who dubbed them the Densetsu no Sannin during the Second Great Shinobi World War. He visited Kanobi Bridge where his father's genin team destroyed the bridge to help lead to victory during the Third Great Shinobi World War, but at the cost of his genin Uchiha Obito, and how Kakashi gained the Sharingan from his dying teammate's last wish. He also heard that the last member, a girl by the name of Rin, left the village shortly after his father was chosen for Yondaime Hokage. During his travel through Waterfall Country, he met another Jinchuriki by the name of Fu, who was a genin from Taki who was 3 years older than him. He told her about himself, and his plans for himself, and the other Jinchuriki. She was shocked, but she believed him. He told her to travel to Whirlpool Kingdom and stay in the royal palace if she needed some place to hide. He planned on putting seals around the place like the Namikaze compound to keep intruders out, and only people with blood the seals recognized would be allowed let in. She hugged him and gave him a kiss on the cheek, which earned a blush from him that both Kyubi and Fu noticed. After taking a sample of her blood and bidding her goodbye, he traveled to Earth Country. Naruto made sure to stay away from Iwagakure no Sato when he stayed in Earth Country. The Kage that was in charge during the war against Leaf was still in power, and he didn't want any trouble. At least not until I'm strong enough, he thought. Earth Country was perfect for his earth manipulation training. He was able to get it to mid-chunin level during his stay and improve his jutsu arsenal with Doton jutsus. He also was able to maintain an IWA bingo book and add it to his Suna, Ain, Kusa, and Taki collection. He was able to take out low-level missing nins and a couple B-ranked ones. He would henge and receive the bounty on them, and his skills got better with more experience. He somehow ended up meeting the daimyo of Earth Country, and found out that he does not hold a grudge against Konoha or the Yondaime Hokage. He told Naruto that he was looking for a chance to remove the current Setsukage from power, but too many people still hold a grudge. He told the daimyo like he did Win's daimyo the truth about him, and what his plans are for the future. To say he was shocked would be an understatement. He was talking to the son of the Yondaime Hokage, and Konoha's Red Death, and the grandson of the late king of Whirlpool. He agreed to Naruto's plan but would only be able to help once IWA got a new Setsukage who was not out to destroy Konoha but would help him in any way he could. Till then, he left Earth Country heading towards the ruined for now Whirlpool Kingdom. It was the middle of July when Naruto left Earth Country for Whirlpool Kingdom. It was the beginning of August when he finally reached Whirlpool's border. He summoned an army of 2,000 shadow clones, told them to stay out of sight while he had them travel the countryside. Naruto traveled further into his kingdom. It was a couple hours until he saw his first village. By the looks of it, the people were definitely living a hard life. He just hoped that it wasn't like this for every place the people were living. He continued on promising to himself to help his people as soon as possible. Over the hours, more of his clones were dismissing themselves, and he found out why it was called Whirlpool Kingdom. Surrounding the entire coast were whirlpools about a mile out. He also received the location of what he assumed was the capital. He was also saddened at the fact that not too many other places were faring better than the village he saw. After another couple hours of travel, he arrived at the capital. He could see that a good portion of it was intact or had been rebuilt already. He made his way to the largest building he could see, assuming it was the royal palace. Oddly enough, it didn't have any damage at all from what he could see. It was midday and the people were still out as he walked through the streets. The people were eyeing him cautiously and started following him. By the time he arrived in front of the palace, he could see that there was no damage at all. He eyed the gates and was broke from his thoughts by someone speaking who looked to be the eldest among the crowd. "I don't know who you are, child, but if you plan on going in there, then think again. The royal palace is not only guarded by us, but the palace is surrounded by seals that only allow the royal family, or anyone they allow to enter," spoke the old man. Oka-san failed to mention that the place was protected by seals, but that would explain how it survived the invasion, and that also means nothing has been stolen, Naruto thought as he approached the gate. A blood seal plus a few other seals. The place isn't as advanced as the seals protecting the Namikaze compound, so I'll have to update it before I leave, as well as add more seals. If you need a place to stay the night, I have a room for you as long as you don't cause trouble, the old man said. "Thank you, but that won't be necessary," Naruto said, then bit his thumb and wiped his blood on the seal. The old man's eyes, along with everyone else's, widened as they watched the seal that protected the royal family's home light up. Then they heard an unlocking noise. The old man nearly had a heart attack when he watched the child open the gate. "Who are you?" the man asked. Naruto looked at him and the rest of the people in the crowd. He saw the shocked faces upon each of the adults, and the confusion among the children who didn't know what just happened. "At first light tomorrow, I want a group of you to go and inform the people around the kingdom to gather in the capital at the end of the week at noon. There I shall tell you who I am and what I have planned for the future of this kingdom." And with that, Naruto walked in and closed the gate behind him. The townspeople quickly left with hope in their hearts. Naruto looked at his home in his kingdom. It was 3 stories and about the same length as the main house back in Konoha. There were statues of the previous kings in huge gardens to his left and right. The grounds needed to be fixed up as well, with overgrown grass and weeds everywhere. He walked up to the door of the palace, and but blood on that seal as well. He waited for a few seconds, then opened the door. When he walked in, he saw steps to his left and right that led up to the next floor, where a painting of his grandparents, the former king and queen, and his mother about his age was hung on display. He created 200 clones and ordered them to explore and clean up the place. He walked back outside to explore the grounds while his clones cleaned the house. He created more clones when he found the shed and ordered them to clean up. He found a training ground in the back, as well as a male and female side onsen and a smaller onsen for private use. There were even swings and slides and other toys for children. He decided to relax in the onsen while the clones cleaned up everything. He started to think of what he planned to do from the things he's seen so far and how the people would react once he tells them who he is. From the looks of the people who saw what happened earlier, he didn't think there'd be much trouble. After about 2 hours, he received the memories of his clones that they were finished. He learned that there was a basement, which was where the clan library was, and the second and third floors were all bedrooms. He redressed and went to bed for the day. When he woke up, he headed to the throne room where the king would entertain guests, but more importantly was where the sword was that would make him king. As he walked through the palace to the throne room, he praised his clones. They, I sure know how to clean up a place, he thought. When he reached the doors that led to the throne room, he pushed them open and walked in. He saw more paintings along the walls and 2 thrones in front of him. But what caught his eye was the most beautiful sword he had ever seen. It was stabbed in a stone. I know King Arthur, but couldn't think of anything else, and noticed there was no sheath for it. The hilt was shaped as a dragon with the blade coming out of its mouth. To see a pic, check my profile. Credit goes to Shintai-chan for the awesome design. When he approached it, he slowly wrapped his left hand around it. He gripped it tightly and pulled it slowly out of the stone. When it was fully out, he could finally appreciate its true beauty and its power. After a few swings, he sealed it into the seal he drew after he woke up on his left wrist. It was only 3 days till he made his announcement, so he decided to train while sending clones to the library to collect any jutsu he didn't already have, especially the ones dealing with sub-elements. The day finally arrived. Naruto, dressed in black ANBU style pants, dark blue shirt with a Chunin style vest over that with his scrolls, shuriken and kunai pouches tied to his legs and strapping his mother's kodachis to his lower back. He left the palace and headed toward the gate. Once he arrived, he saw a crowd of people outside. He opened the gates and he walked to the center of the capital with the people following him. Once he arrived, he saw a stage and thousands of people there. He stepped onto the stage and the people quieted down. Thank you for coming. I'm sure many of you are wondering what is going on, and if you let me finish my story, I promise you I will answer any questions. As some of you may remember, during the Third Great Shinobi World War, the kingdom of Whirlpool was attacked by both IWA and Kumo. The royal family fought against the attackers to give time for the people to escape. They put up a great fight, but even with their bloodline there were simply too many enemies. So one by one they fell, knowing that at least they made sure the people lived. Now many of you believe that the entire royal family was killed, but that is not true. One member survived, and that person was Uzumaki Kushina, the royal princess. She was able to flee the country with dreams of rebuilding it. She fled to Konoha, where she joined their forces and became a powerful kunoichi, and she slowly fell in love with a man named Namikaze Minato. Each became famous under the titles Konoha's Red Death and Konoha's Yellow Flash. The man eventually became the Yondaime Hokage, and the two got married shortly thereafter. She told Minato of her past, and he pledged to help her however he could. Then Kushina found out that she was pregnant with a boy. She and Minato were very excited at starting a family. They had to keep their marriage and her pregnancy a secret, though, to protect them from their enemies. Only their closest friends knew. They decided to name their child Naruto, the main character from Minato sensei's first book. But the happiness was not to last for long, as evil men were planning something terrible. They traveled to the greatest of the Bijou Kyubi no Yoko's den, where they attacked her and forced her to attack Konoha. As the Yondaime received news of more of his ninja dying, he knew there was only one way to defeat Kyubi. So after a lengthy fight with Kushina, they agreed to induce her pregnancy 3 weeks early. With their son born, the family spent a few minutes together before he left with his son in his arms toward Kyubi. You see, there is only one way to defeat a Bijou, and that is by sealing it. But a being as powerful as the Kyubi would require the strongest of containers, and ironically the strongest of containers that can contain a being such as Kyubi is a newborn baby that can adapt to the Bijou's chakra. But that is only half the problem. The other half is a seal that is strong enough to contain it inside the container. So with great regret and sadness, the Yondaime summoned the Shinigami, who along with his own seals sealed the Kyubi into his newborn son at the cost of his life. With the deal done, and the Kyubi now sealed into his son, he was told by his closest friends that his wife and mother of his child had died shortly after he left due to complications from birth. With the thought that his son was now going to grow up without his parents, he made his final wish for his son to be seen a hero for stopping the Kyubi, and then left to join Kushina in the afterlife. But the villagers and shinobi did not honor his wish. They only saw the boy as the Kyubi reborn. They demanded his death, so the Sandaime passed a law forbidding anyone speaking of the Kyubi sealed into the boy, but that did not stop them. They would hire assassins and would chase him and beat him as soon as he could walk. They would try to starve him to death, and if it wasn't for Kyubi's healing powers he would have died before his 5th birthday. The orphanage he lived at would make him sleep in a closet, then when it rained sleep outside. They kicked him out on his 4th birthday, where he lived on the streets for 6 months before the Sandame found out and got him the only apartment that would let him live there, in the slums. Then finally the day that changed his life appeared. It was his 5th birthday and the 5th anniversary of the Kyubi's defeat. Naruto traveled outside wanting to have fun like everybody else, but this was not to happen. The people soon spotted him and chased him into a dead end. They approached the crying boy and started beating him, stabbing him with poisoned weapons and smashing his head against the wall till his skull cracked. Then finally, to end it, one ninja went through hand seals for a katan jutsu and set the boy on fire, where he finally passed out. When he woke up he appeared in the seal, where he met Kyubi, who explained to him why the people hate him and the truth of why she attacked. He also met his parents with the help of the Shinigami, but even with Kyubi's healing abilities the boy was still dying. The injuries were just too much, and the seal wouldn't allow any more of Kyubi's chakra to leak through. So the Shinigami made an offer. He would alter the seal that would create a 3rd bloodline for Naruto that would heal him from almost any attack. He'd even be able to regrow limbs and live a longer life than others. But instead of the seal changing Kyubi's chakra to his own at the age of 25, it would be finished on his 16th birthday. After agreeing to this, Naruto hugged his parents one last time. For the next year he trained in the Namake's compound in secret with the help of Kyubi. Then on his 6th birthday he left the village to travel the world and continue his training, vowing to rebuild his mother's kingdom and become the greatest Hokage Konoha has ever seen. He paused, looking at the crowd. He could see the shocked looks and the tears in their eyes. My name is Namake's Uzumaki Naruto. I am the son of Namake's Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. I promise to each and every one of you that with your help I will rebuild the kingdom of Whirlpool and make my family and all of you proud of me, and I never break my promises. And with that he unsealed the sword of the king into his hand and held it up for all to see. They started cheering and chanting King Naruto over and over. He slowly made his way through the crowd as he shook the hands of the men and was hugged by the women. He told them that he was planning on leaving to continue his training shortly after his 11th birthday, which was in 2 months, and help the people until then. He also told them to keep this a secret until he revealed himself to the world. They all swore on their life to their king. During the 2 months Naruto continued training with his clones, and had his clones help the people as well. Buildings were built and fields of food were plentiful. He upgraded the seals on the royal palace as well as adding Fu's blood to the seal to allow her entrance. He celebrated his 11th birthday with the people, then he retired to his bed in the main bedroom when he appeared in his mindscape. He walked toward the house Kyubi had added to the seal. He walked in and saw Kyubi lying down on the couch. He walked over to her and lifted her head up before sitting down and resting her head on his lap. He smiled at her as he ran his hand through her hair. They had been doing these types of things a lot recently. He knew he had feelings for her, and he was pretty sure she did as well. He wanted to kiss those soft red lips of hers so bad recently, but thought he was too young or she'd reject him or some other lame excuse. Screw it, he thought, and leaned down and captured her lips. Kyubi was enjoying the sensations Naruto caused her, and all he did was things like run his hand through her hair. She was in love with him, and would see a look in his eyes every now and then. She was broken out of her thoughts when she felt lips on her own. Her eyes snapped open and saw Naruto was kissing her. OMG, he's kissing me. My first kiss and Naruto's kissing me, she thought. She calmed down and returned the kiss. He started to get more aggressive, licking her lips, making her moan and part her lips slightly, allowing his tongue to sneak in. He didn't know what he was doing, but he knew he liked it, and by the sounds she was making so was she. They battled their tongues for dominance until Naruto won, and he ravaged her mouth. Her moans only encouraging him. After 5 minutes of the most pleasant thing either had experienced, they broke for air. He regained air and stared into her amazing ruby eyes. He put his hand on her cheek. I love you, Q-chan. I've had feelings for you for a while now. You are my best friend and one of my precious people. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, he said. Kyubi started crying as she hugged him and kissed him again. I love you too, Naruto. I've loved you for so long. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to have your kids. To spend so many first times with you. To tell you the truth, that was my first kiss, and what a kiss it was, she said, and blushed at the end. Naruto just chuckled at her before he picked her up bridal style, heading to the bedroom where they laid down with her head on his chest. They fell asleep with happy dreams. Naruto left the next morning making sure he had everything he needed. He added another section to his mindscape to keep the scrolls he planned to bring with him from the library in the royal palace separate from the Namake's library. When he left the gate and approached the entrance/exit of the capital, he saw a crowd of people. I promise to return, and when I do we can begin the real rebuilding of our country, he said to them. He noticed some tears from the children, and he opened his arms, and they ran to him, tackling him to the ground. Sure, it's okay. While I'm gone, get stronger to protect your precious people, and when I return you can help me rebuilding our home. The women along with Kyubi looked on and smiled at the scene, thinking he'll make a wonderful father, with some blushing and having nosebleeds, including Kyubi. He finished the goodbyes and headed towards Lightning Country. Ready Koishi, he thought. Kyubi smiled and thought back, ready Narukoi. Naruto traveled east and reached Rice Field Country within 2 weeks. He traveled through when he ran into 5 shinobi with a headband he didn't recognize. On the hitai was a symbol of a music note. He eyed them before saying, "What do you want?" The apparent leader of the group spoke up, "We are looking for shinobi willing to join us and serve our master. He is a powerful man, and if you interest him he can grant you great power." Naruto thought for a second before saying, "Who is your so-called master? Also, I have never heard of a hitai with a symbol like that. What is the name of your village?" The leader smirked before saying, "We serve the great Orochimaru-sama. He has created his own village here in Rice Field Country called Otogekyo no Sato. Now, since you know too much information, you can join us or you can die." Naruto's and Kyuubi's blood boiled at the mention of Orochimaru. So that bastard is creating his own village. I need to take care of these fools quick, then look around for some information, he thought. Sorry, but I'm not interested in serving a pedo like Orochimaru, and with that said, Naruto created 4 clones to deal with the others while he took on the leader. He didn't even break a sweat against them and searched their bodies and taking one of their hitai before burning the bodies. He created 200 clones and had them travel the country gathering any info they could. He traveled and ended up in a town that looked it was doing quite well. He ventured into a section called Fuma Alley after a quick henge no jutsu into a 20-year-old version of himself. He walked into a club called Club Lie Down, and after spending some money coming up with nothing, he left and turned into an alley. He saw that he was surrounded and looked on with a bored face at the apparent leader who had a zanbato on his back. "I suggest you hand over anything you have before we have to hurt you. My name is Fuma Henzaki and this territory belongs to the Fuma clan, and since you're in it that means we own you as well, but we'll let you go. Just hand over the stuff," the man identified as Hanzaki said. Naruto just looked at the man and replied a no, then he smiled. Hanzaki just shook his head and said, "I warned you," then charged at Naruto. Naruto just stood there charging chakra to his hands while he watched the man draw his zanbato. He lifted it above his head then drew it down. What happened next shocked everyone but Naruto. Naruto caught the blade in his right chakra-covered hand, then punched Hanzaki right in the gut with his left chakra-covered hand and watched as he flew down the alley and was knocked out. Naruto looked around him and spoke to a girl who looked about 13. "Am I correct in assuming you own the bar I came out of?" She nodded, unable to speak. "Good. Follow me and pick up your leader. We shall let him recover in there. I have a few questions to ask." And with that he walked up to her and put a hand on her cheek, looking her in the eyes. "Did you get all that?" She blushed and nodded, ordering the others to do as instructed. "By the way, I didn't get your name." The girl responded, "Fuma Kotoheim." He smiled at her, causing her to blush again, saying that's a beautiful name, before he headed back to the club with her and the others behind him. Once Hanzaki regained consciousness, Naruto summoned Kotoheim into the room with them and closed the door, locking it and going through hand seals too fast for them to see, put up a privacy jutsu. Then he dropped his henge and turned to look at their stunned faces. "This is the real me, and I put up a privacy jutsu so no one can hear us." They both just nodded, both shocked that Hanzaki had been defeated so easily by a child younger than Kotoheim. "Now I want information on what's been going on in this country, especially regarding Orochimaru and this new village of his," he said, then showed them the forehead protector. Hanzaki asked, "Where did you get that from?" Naruto looked at him with a serious face. "On my way through this country I ran into 5 shinobi who wore these forehead protectors with a symbol I've never seen before. They told me they were looking for other shinobi to join them and their master. I asked who they serve and the name of the village. The leader of the group told me what I wanted to know, thinking he could scare me into joining the village or die knowing the information I had. That was foolish, as I killed him and the others, then burned their bodies before taking this hitai and anything else valuable," he finished. Hanzaki and Kotoheim looked at the boy who just claimed killing 5 shinobi, at least Chun in rank each, like it was nothing, but with the look on his face knew it was true. Hanzaki sighed before starting, "Well, it started 2 years ago when Orochimaru visited the daimyo of this country and somehow convinced him to let him build a hidden village that he named Otogekyo no Sato." And with that, Hanzaki, with comments from Kotoheim, told Naruto everything. How he convinced some members of the clan to join him to gain the power to rebuild the Fuma clan. When he ended, he looked at Kotoheim, who nodded back. "There is one more thing, but it concerns the laws of our clan. When the leader is defeated by someone else, then that person becomes the new leader of the clan, and since I was the leader, and you defeated me, that makes you the new head of the Fuma clan," he finished. Naruto pondered this. Well, this sure is an interesting predicament, and a useful one, he thought. "Hey Kyuheim, what do you think of this?" And with that he explained his plans. "Sounds like a good idea," Naruto and Kyuubi replied. He gave her a mental kiss on the lips that made her smile. Naruto opened his eyes and looked at them. "Alright, if I am going to be the head of this clan, then I need to explain some things to you too, as you both will be in charge when I'm gone, with Hanzaki my second in command, and you Kotoheim my third in command. My name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, son of Konoha's Yondaime Hokage and Konoha's Red Death." Their names were Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. "My mother was the royal princess of the former Whirlpool kingdom, and part of my plans are to rebuild it. I was coming from there on my way through here. I also plan on killing Orochimaru for personal reasons. My first order is I want you to keep your eyes and ears open. I want information on what is happening, and I'll collect every month by sending a shadow clone who you'll give any information you have and tell him anything else. One of the benefits of the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu is anything it learns is transferred back to the original. I'll send one of my summons with the clone, and if you need to give me anything, give it to the summon, and it will return to where I am. Also, the most important order I give is don't die. You two cannot tell anyone my full name or my heritage yet. I'll just go by Uzumaki Naruto for now. I'll spend a week here getting caught up on everything that you have been doing. Also, no more of this gang stuff. I'll give you some money that should last for a year, and then I'll send some with the clones later until you guys can run on your own. They both just nodded. Kotoheim blushing, thinking how commanding he can be. Hanzaki was just glad they found someone who can help the clan with honest motives. Naruto left Club Lie Down after the week, and after getting a kiss on each cheek by Kotoheim and a girl he met during the week he took a liking to as well by the name of Sasami, who was the same age as him, he left heading toward Lightning Country once more. Naruto traveled for 2 weeks until he reached Lightning Country's border at the beginning of November. He decided to travel to Kumogakure no Sato first to try and get their bingo book and stock up on supplies, then travel along the eastern coast while working on his water manipulation, then inward towards the mountains to practice his earth and lightning manipulations. He arrived at the entrance of the village after 3 days. Halt. State your name and purpose for your visit, stated one of the guards. Naruto had decided to change into a teenager with a basic build with brown hair and black eyes. My name is Toshiro. No surname. I am traveling the world and have come here to rest and restock my supplies, Naruto replied. The guard looked at Naruto for a couple seconds before writing down the information and allowed him through. Naruto found a hotel and rented a room for a couple nights. He took a look around his room and went through his supplies, making a list of what he needed before taking a shower, and went back out. He could sense a couple of shinobi tailing him. Must be for security reasons, he thought. He picked up some medical supplies as he was running low after helping his people in Whirlpool Kingdom and some members of the Fuma clan. I'm just glad I started learning medical ninjutsu, or I would have run out of supplies a long time ago. He also picked up more kunai and shuriken. He was able to sneak into the place that produces Kumo's bingo books and got the latest edition. With that, he went back to his hotel and went to sleep. He decided to relax today before he left tomorrow, and after a quick breakfast he decided to explore the village. He found it to be a nice place. A bit quieter than Konoha, but it had a peaceful sensation to it. He was walking down a road when his eyes caught sight of a kunoichi heading his way. She was beautiful with blonde hair tied in a braid that went to her mid-back and black eyes. Her breasts were easily decupped with long legs attached to a firm ass. She started eyeing him as well. When they passed each other, time seemed to slow down, then she continued on. What was that? I could sense something from her, he thought. I felt something too, Naruto, and I believe that was the container for the Nibi no Bakaniko Kyubi replied. Naruto's eyes widened and turned around, but she was already gone. Damn. She was right next to me and I didn't even get to say a simple hello, he thought and sighed. Don't worry, Naruto. I'm sure you two will meet again. Her container is strong, Kyubi replied and gave Naruto a mental kiss on the lips which had him smile. Arigato koishi, Naruto thought. Anytime koi, Kyubi replied. Naruto decided to spend a couple hours at one of Kumo's famous onsens before heading back to the hotel. He paid the clerk and entered the room for the males and declothed, then wrapped a towel around him before heading to the water. He decided to drop his henge for now. When he entered, he noticed 2 other people there. Both were dark-skinned and had white hair and were obviously shinobi. The younger of the 2 looked to be about 5 years older than him. But it was the other guy that had his attention, and Kyubi's. He had a tattoo on his left shoulder that said iron and a tattoo on his left cheek that resembled a bull's horn. He also gave Naruto the same feeling Fu and the container for the Nibi gave him. Kyuheim, what are the chances that we meet 2 other Jinchuriki in the same day? Naruto asked. I don't know, but he is definitely a Jinchuriki. From what I can sense, I'd say he contains the Hachibi no Kyogyu, she replied. Naruto gave her a nod and continued into the water. While Naruto was eyeing the 2 and talking to Kyubi, the ones he was eyeing were eyeing him. Yo Hachi, do you sense Wama Sensin? Killer Bee thought to Hachibi. Hi, I do, you buffoon. This child is powerful on his own, and he contains the Kyubi no Yoko as well, Hachibi replied. What do you think I should do? He replied seriously. Order Oma to leave and speak to the boy. If he's in contact with Kyubi, then he already knows about you, Hachibi responded. Killer Bee nodded his head toward Omoi, who nodded back and got up and left. Naruto watched the younger man leave, then turned his attention back to the older man who hadn't moved. Is it safe to talk here? Naruto asked. Hi, it's safe. Omoi will make sure no one will bother us. So I'm guessing you know of what you contain? Killer Bee asked. Hi, I've known since my 5th birthday about Kyuheim, Naruto replied. Killer Bee raised an eyebrow at the Heim before he asked Heim. Naruto smirked before saying, well, she is one of the most beautiful women I have ever seen and I love her, and she mean, Naruto replied. He looked at the other Jinchuriki's face before saying, I'm guessing Hachibi never mentioned that they can take a human form. Killer Bee thought, Yo Hachi, is this true? Yes, was the simple answer. Killer Bee's left eye twitched before saying, how come you never told me? You never asked, was his reply while holding in his laughter. Killer Bee just shook his head at his friend before looking back at the child saying, my name's Kurabi, but people just call me Killer Bee. Naruto nodded. Uzumaki Naruto. By the way, earlier today I crossed paths with the Nibi container while exploring the village, but she was already gone before I realized who she was. You wouldn't know her name by chance, would you? Killer Bee nodded. Hi, I do. Her name is Naruto, one of our best kunoichi if not the best. Naruto nodded his head in thanks. After a few minutes of silence, Killer Bee spoke up. So what are you doing in Kumo, if I may ask? Naruto opened one eye, looking at him, stocking up on supplies before I head out to begin training on my lightning manipulation and continue on my others. Killer Bee's curiosity was picked up when he mentioned his lightning affinity, but was shocked when he mentioned others. Others? How many do you have? I only have one, which happens to be lightning. Naruto hesitated before replying 7. Killer Bee was shocked and confused before saying 7? There are only 5 main elements, and he was cut off by Hachibi's gasp. What's the matter, Hachi? This child speaks the truth. There are actually 7 main elements, but the last 2 were only wielded by one other human. The Rikudo Sennin. Those elements were light and dark. If he truly does possess those elements, then he has the potential to be the greatest shinobi to have ever lived. Killer Bee got over his shock before replying, well, damn. How do you have affinities to the other elements anyways? One of my bloodlines, replied Naruto. Bloodlines? As in more than one? I don't think I've ever heard of anyone with more than one bloodline. Naruto looked at Killer Bee and said, I have 3. 2 from my parents, and the 3rd I got after Shinigami altered the seal to prevent me from dying on my 5th birthday. Now Killer Bee and Hachibi were shocked again. Sure, Shinigami? As in the Shinigami? Naruto nodded his head and told him about his past. How the villagers treated him, and the meeting of Kyubi, his parents, and Shinigami. Killer Bee and Hachibi laughed hard when he mentioned he called the Shinigami Shinijiji. He also mentioned his plan for the other Jinchuriki. Killer Bee told Naruto that before he left he'd give some instructions to help him with his lightning manipulation. Before he left, Naruto asked for a sample of his blood to add to the seal protecting the royal palace, and said that if he ever needed some place to hide or rest to stay there. Killer Bee gave his thanks and his instructions to Naruto, and watched as he left Kumo. He's going to change this world for the better, Killer Bee thought, then added, then I can share my music with the world. Hachibi just shook his head at his crazy friend of a container. When he turned around, he spotted his 3 students watching him. The big-breasted blonde student of his spoke, Sensei, who was that? Killer Bee took a look behind him before looking back at his students. That my students was the Jinchuriki for the Kyubi no Yoko, and the one who will become the strongest shinobi who has ever lived and change this world for the better. If you ever fight him, run away or surrender, as you have no hope against him. With that, he walked past the stunned faces of his students, thinking of his next song while bugging the crap out of Hachibi. Naruto spent 3 months traveling along the coast. He had finally mastered his water manipulation and wind manipulation. I can start working on combining them next, he thought excitedly. He also improved his chakra control with him using medical ninjutsu on the people in the villages he came across. By the time he left, he had cleared up the coast of bandits and missing Nin, and word was already spreading about the protector of Lightning Country. Naruto made his way higher into the mountains. He came across the perfect spot for training but noticed a small cabin. He approached it and could sense someone in it. When he knocked, he heard someone approaching and opened the door. When he got to see who it was, he saw that it was a young, beautiful woman. To was preparing to make dinner when she heard a knock at her door. Who the hell could that be, she thought. When she approached the door, she could feel the power of the person on the other side of the door. She readied herself and opened the door, but was shocked to see a mini Yandame Hokage. Can I help you? She asked. Naruto thought she looked familiar until he saw the loincloth around her hip. That's when he recalled where he saw her. It was in a picture of the 12 guardian ninja. But I thought they were all killed except Jiji's son when half of them planned a coup d'etat against the Hokage, and the others fought them, he thought. He was brought out of his thoughts by her question. Yes, I am wondering if you would allow me to stay here in the area to practice my earth and lightning manipulations for a few months. Also, if you're trying to hide, you should make sure you aren't wearing that loincloth for all to see. 12 guardian ninja To. I'm quite surprised to see you since I heard all you died except for Asuma a few years ago, he finished. To was intrigued by his request and at the affinities he mentioned, but was shocked when he said her name. How do you know all this? She asked. I am quite close to the 3rd Hokage, and I spent a lot of time in his office when I was younger, and when he would run out for something I'd go snooping around, he finished with a chuckle. Who are you? She asked. My name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, King of Whirlpool, Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko, son of Namikaze Minato, Konoha's Yandame Hokage, and Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina, Konoha's Red Death and daughter of the former king and queen of Whirlpool Kingdom, he finished. To was left speechless as her mind tried to comprehend what was just told. Unfortunately, that didn't work out too well as she passed out. Naruto quickly caught her before she hit the floor and chuckled. Well, I guess I'd better put you down somewhere to rest, he said. He found her bedroom and laid her down on her bed and pulled the blankets over her. He walked back out and noticed she was starting dinner. He decided to finish as she rested. Roughly an hour later, To woke up to a smell that had her mouth salivating. She noticed she was tucked in her bed. He must have put me here after I fainted, she thought with a slight blush. She breathed a sigh of relief when she noticed the only thing missing from her body were her sandals. She put them back on and followed the delicious aroma. When she arrived, she saw him cooking dinner. She coughed, getting his attention. Naruto turned around and saw she was up. Finally up, I see. I decided to finish making dinner as I noticed I interrupted you. It'll be done in a couple minutes, so take a seat at the table and I'll be with you in a few. With that he turned back around to check on the stew. To sat down and watched him work. Damn, he's powerful, a gentleman and cooks. Plus he's quite a looker already, and if he grows up to be a looker like his father he'll be even more handsome, she thought. Then her eyes widened at what she thought, and blushed. Wait a minute. What is the son of a Hokage doing way out here anyways? And if I remember correctly he said he was the king of Whirlpool. Seems I have some things to talk about. During dinner she was shaken from her thoughts by the bowl of stew placed in front of her. She took a small taste of it before she dug in. Naruto chuckled at her antics before eating his. She calmed down and took a breath before saying, those things you told me, were they all true? Naruto nodded his head and said yes. Everything I told you was the truth. To looked at him again and said, then what are you doing out here and how can you be king when Whirlpool Kingdom was destroyed during the Third Great Shinobi World War? Naruto swallowed the stew in his mouth, then replied, as I mentioned earlier, I am here to continue my earth manipulation and start my lightning manipulation. As for how I am king, I visited my kingdom before coming to this country and let my people know of my existence and my plans to rebuild my kingdom. I also have the sword of the king with me sealed in the seal on my wrist. He finished by showing her the seal. To said the first thing that came to her mind, damn. Naruto chuckled and said, yeah, I seem to be getting a lot of that recently. They finished dinner with more questions and she explained how she was saved when the Sandaime Hokage had sent reinforcements and met ninja to the battle and they were able to save her. She then explained how the fire daimyo allowed her to leave his service and she ended up here to further her training. She told him that he could stay here with her and she'd help with his training. So with the next 8 months To had helped Naruto train. He managed to master his earth manipulation and with her help she put him at low jounin level for his lightning manipulation. She was shocked when he explained how he had affinities to all 7 main elements and his ability to use sub-elements. She was further shocked when he summoned a phoenix and a shadow clone. He told her he found the legendary Phoenix contract a while back and on his way to Lightning Country managed to become head of the Fuma clan while in Rice Field Country. Naruto had also told her the truth of Kyuubi's attack and how they came to love each other. To for some reason was happy for them but also extremely sad. She realized she started developing feelings for him but didn't realize how strong they were. But then Naruto's 12th birthday came along and when he was celebrating it with To, one of the scrolls he stored in the seal popped out in front of him. What the hell? Kyuchan, did you do that? Kyuubi shook her head and replied, no, it wasn't my doing, Naruto. Naruto opened the scroll with To next to him to let her read it as well. To Naruto, if you are reading this then you are at least 12 years old. Because you are the last of the Uzumaki clan and the last of the Namikaze clan as well, there is a law in Konoha that applies to you. It is called the Clan Restoration Act, or CRA for short. What this law does is allow the last male or males of a clan with a Kekkai Genkai to marry at least 20 women for each Kekkai Genkai to restore the clan. Your mother and I agreed to 3 political marriages for you before you were born. The first one was with Suna. If you were a boy then you were to marry Temari, the Yondaime Kazekage's eldest child, who is 2 years older than you. If you were a girl then it would have been his eldest son Kankuro, who is a year older than you, and the other marriages would have been nullified. The second marriage is to the daughter of the priestess of Demon Country whose name is Cheyenne. She is only a couple months younger than you. The final marriage is to Kazuhana Koiki, daughter of the daimyo of Snow Country who is 3 years older than you. Now none of these are permanent so you don't have to go through with them. Marry only those that you love and those that love you back. Your loving parents, Namikaze Minato and Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina. Naruto and To were shocked while Kyuubi knew this was a possibility but wasn't upset. From what I've seen so far there are already other women who love him, and he has a heart big enough for all of us, she thought. Naruto looked over at To and noticed she was crying. To-chan Ruo but didn't get to finish as To tackled him and kissed him with all the passion she could manage. Naruto was shocked at first but returned the kiss, his tongue doing the same magic it did to Kyuubi. After 5 minutes they broke for air. He looked her in the eyes and saw she was smiling. I was so afraid that I'd never get to be with you. During these past months I've developed feelings for you. You're everything I could want. But when you said you and Kyuubi were in love it felt like my heart broke. I've never felt like this before and I know I love you, she explained. Naruto ran his right hand against her cheek and gave her a soft kiss on her lips. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I may be a genius at a lot of things but it seems I'm still pretty dense when it comes to women. To tell you the truth, I've also fallen in love with you but I didn't want to hurt Kyuchan. But now we can all be together, he finished and leaned up and captured her lips in another passionate kiss. To moaning as their tongues battled, Kyuubi watched on with a blush. After they broke apart she decided to tell Naruto a certain effect his third bloodline had on his mates. As To looked at Naruto she saw his face get redder and redder. What's the matter, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked at her and said, Kyuchan just informed me of a benefit my third bloodline has on women who I choose to mate with. Apparently they gain the same abilities I have with that bloodline. So if they're older than 25 then after I mark them their body reverts back to that of a 25-year-old and stay like that like me and gain my extended life as well as my healing abilities. If they're younger than 25, then they stop aging at 25 and gain my extended life as well as the healing abilities, he explained, still blushing. To was amazed at that, then asked, how do you mark them? Naruto blushed harder and said, I bite them on the shoulder and channel my chakra into them at the end of sex while we both orgasm at the same time. Now To was blushing with a bit of blood dripping from her nose. Naruto chuckled at her before saying, I'm still a bit too young for that, but I promise I will mark you when we're both ready. Then he kissed her nose, making her giggle. Naruto spent the rest of the month with her, getting closer before he left at the beginning of November. They were outside the cabin kissing. They broke apart, still holding each other. Promise I'll see you again, she said. Naruto gave her a soft kiss and said, I promise you too, Chan, that we will spend the rest of our lives together. Come to Konoha the week before the Chunin exams in Konoha in 3 years. That is when I will reveal to the world who I am and we can be together. With that they kissed again, with Naruto squeezing her ass, making her moan before he left, heading towards the capital of Lightning Country. As Naruto left traveling down the mountain, he spotted a lot of debris and scorch marks from the thunderstorm a week back. He spotted an entrance to lead into the mountain that wasn't there before. And why not? Nothing bad has happened yet venturing into dark places. Naruto felt like deja vu when he ventured into the cave containing the Phoenix contract. As he traveled further and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Kyuhyun, is this for real? He thought. Kyubi could not believe her koi's luck. Hi Naruto. That does indeed look like a dragon carved into the wall with a scroll in its mouth, she deadpanned. Naruto looked around and noticed an opening in the top of the cave. He came up with an idea. With a quick Kuchiyos no Jutsu, the boss of the Phoenix clan appeared. Fenakusa looked down at Naruto, saying, what have you summoned me for, Naruto? Naruto looked at him before pointing behind him, saying that. Fenakusa looked behind him and was shocked before chuckling. Well, I'll be. Either you are extremely lucky or higher powers are helping you in your quest. Naruto looked at him. So is it possible to sign more than one contract? Hi, as long as the boss summons agree. If you manage to stumble across the other 2 legendary contracts, you need not worry, as the 4 great clans have been allies for centuries. Now if you intend to sign the contract, I'll stay, as it's been a while since I've seen my old friend. Naruto nodded before retrieving the contract and signed it as he did with the Phoenix contract, then yelled out Kuchiyos no Jutsu for the second time in less than an hour. When the smoke cleared, he was again awed by the creature. It was indeed a dragon. It had dark green skin with 2 large wings that it stretched out, almost reaching both sides of the cave before retracting them. It had 2 horns on its head and had spikes going down its back onto its tail. It looked around before spotting Naruto, then Fenakusu. Fenakusa, my old friend, what are you doing here? The Phoenix replied, I came to watch the summoner of our clan, see if he passes your test or not. The dragon looked down at the one who summoned him. Indeed, he is quite remarkable, and an Uzumaki as well. I can sense the sword I gifted upon their clan long ago upon him. Very well. As with Fenakusa's test, if you fail you will be killed to keep the secret of the location of the dragon contract secret. Do you agree? Naruto nodded and said, hi, I agree. Then we shall begin. The test to see if you may wield the dragon contract is a test of wisdom. Without wisdom, power is useless. Let's see if you are worthy. And with that the dragon breathed out smoke through its nostrils that surrounded Naruto. As with Fenakusa's test, he watched Naruto's life, so watched how he came up with solutions to problems in his life. He was happy to finally find a worthy summoner since the beginning of the contract. As the smoke dissipated, Naruto found himself standing before the 2 legendary bosses again. I am pleased to announce you Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto as the first summoner of the Dragon Clan. As long as you continue to use the wisdom you hold, you shall have the alliance of the Dragon Clan. Before I leave, let me introduce myself. I am Ryujin, boss of the Dragon Clan. Ryujin looked at Fenakusa. It seems we have found a worthy summoner after all these years, my old friend. Fenakusa looked back at the dragon. Indeed it does. I'm sure he will continue to bring honor to the Phoenix and Dragon clans. Congratulations, Naruto. Farewell for now. And with that the Phoenix boss was gone. Naruto looked back at the dragon. Good luck, child. Also, since you have multiple summons, when summoning just think of the summon you want before your hand reaches the ground. Also, you can place summoning tattoos on your body. Just store chakra in them, and swipe some blood across them while thinking of a specific summon of that clan. Each tattoo can hold enough chakra to summon either one of us legendary bosses 3 times before you need to recharge the seal. With a nod from Naruto, the boss of the Dragon Clan disappeared. While I have 2 of the 4 legendary summon contracts, he said, dazed. Kyubi giggled at her lover. You are indeed one special person, Narukoi, she thought to herself. After that, Naruto headed north further into the country, coming across more bandits, and a couple more missing nin, with one even being A-class. He made it to the capital after a week. It was big like the other capitals of the 5 great shinobi countries he's been in, and bustling with activity. He stopped at a restaurant for lunch that had samurai guarding the entrance. After he walked in, he saw why they were here and laughed at the irony. The daimyo and the others in the restaurant turned their heads when they heard laughter coming from the entrance to see a boy laughing. The daimyo spoke. Excuse me, young man, but what do you find so funny? Naruto settled himself before looking at him and said, forgive me, but it seems I have quite the luck in meeting powerful individuals. You see, I've met and befriended many other daimyos through my travels, and I met the daimyo of Earth Country at a restaurant as well. The daimyo rose an eyebrow at the boy. How many have you met, if you don't mind me asking? Naruto took on a thoughtful look. Well, first there was Lord Nobunaga the Fire Lord and his wife Madame Shirjimi, then Wind's daimyo, then the daimyos of Bird Country, Rain Country, Grass Country and Waterfall Country. As I traveled through there, Earth's daimyo was next, then you, Naruto finished. The daimyo and everyone else was astonished who the young boy has met so far. Well, that is indeed quite some luck you have there. If I may ask, what made you come to my country? Naruto nodded and said, I have been traveling the world for a few years now and came to Lightning Country to continue my training. By the way, you wouldn't know where I can go to collect the bounties on some missing nin I ran into on my way here? Hi, I do. Why don't you join me for lunch and I'll walk you there after? The daimyo said. Sure, that works, but I hope you have enough cash on you because I have quite the appetite, Naruto said. The daimyo just nodded his head, not realizing the trouble he just entered. After an hour and jaws on the floor from everybody except the owner who was in the back swimming in his small fortune, Naruto, the daimyo and his guards left. Like promised, he brought him to the office for collecting bounties on missing nin, and he along with everyone else was shocked when one of the nins was A-class. Naruto just ignored their looks before collecting his money and left with the daimyo following him. So child, what do you plan on doing now? Naruto looked up at the man and said, stay in the capital a week and look around, then leave for Water Country. You do realize that traveling there is quite dangerous as there has been no contact with that country since the civil war broke out? The daimyo asked. Hi, I do, but I'll keep my guard up, Naruto replied, then added, you wouldn't know where any good hotels are, would you? The daimyo thought for a moment before saying, hi, but why don't you stay at the palace? That way we can talk more in private as you still haven't given me your name. Naruto agreed and he followed the daimyo to his home. Naruto spent the week traveling around the capital with the daimyo. The daimyo learned that this was the person that the people were calling the protector of Lightning Country. Naruto learned about his views and ideals of the world as well. It seemed that the daimyos didn't have as much hate toward other ninja villages that others had. After finding him trustworthy, Naruto asked to speak to the daimyo in a private place, and after putting up a privacy jutsu, he told everything that he told the other two daimyos of the 5 great shinobi countries. He was shocked like all the others he told. Luckily, Naruto was told the Sandame Raikage that ordered the mission to capture the Byakugan had been replaced and executed after the mission ended up in failure, and Kumo ended with a trade embargo for 3 years. The new Yandame Raikage, a man by the name of was in fact the older brother of Killer B. Naruto left the capital at the end of the week and after a week of searching found a ship departing for Water Country. It was the beginning of the 4th week of November when Naruto left Lightning Country for Water Country. He could have just used one of his summons but didn't want to take the chance that he'd be spotted. The captain of the ship he was on told him he thought he was crazy to want to go to that country and during the winter season as well, but mentioned it would take about 3 days until they reached port. During the voyage, Naruto went over his skills. He and Kyuubi put him overall at Kage level, but he knew he needed to be stronger than a Kage if he wanted to defeat his enemies and protect his precious people. His ninjutsu was easily Kage level. He had mastered his futon, suiton, doton and katon manipulations and was close to mastering his right-hand manipulation. He knew at least 30 jutsu for each one so far. With help from his Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he was even able to master each jutsu C rank and lower, with a few B ranks so far, to the point he could perform them without hand seals or even saying the name out loud, which he thought was a good idea since ninja are supposed to be quiet and stealthy, not yelling out a technique giving a chance for your enemy to counter your attack. He planned to start working on his Hayaton and Mokuton manipulations when he arrived in Water Country as well as his light element with help from the phoenixes. His taijutsu was Haijounen level with him, almost mastering both his parents' styles. His father's style was called Muchu, Bird of Prey. This style has you using quick strikes on multiple targets to various points on the enemy's body to either disable them or use for a quick kill. His mother's style was called Hiryu, Flying Dragon. With this style the user delivers fast strong blows attempting to break bones on single or low number of enemies. He was also quite proficient in Goken as well, the style used by Mado Gai, Konoha's taijutsu specialist. His kenjutsu was Haijounen as well. His skill with his Kodachis and Dragon Sword was on par with the Kiri no Shinobigatana Nananin Shu, 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. He had started using his elemental chakra in the Dragon Sword with the lost legendary sword style. Kyuubi taught him the Hiten Mitsurugi Ryu and was pleased with the results. His genjutsu was low jounen, and while his worst subject he was still pleased with it. He could dispel any low to mid and most high-ranking techniques, and cast a few C rank and higher. He was especially pleased with his knowledge of Fuinjutsu. He could confidently say he was a seal master when he managed to finish his latest project. Apparently after Orochimaru left Konoha he left behind some various research papers and one of them was his cursed seal. His father had just started making headway on getting rid of the seal before Kyuubi appeared but wasn't able to finish it. But after 6 months Naruto was finally able to find a way to get rid of it. Of course the only way to know if it works is to use it on someone who has the cursed seal, but he was confident it would work. He currently had his chakra weight set to 900 pounds on each of his limbs and 950 pounds on his waist. His speed and strength were mid-jounen with the weights on but easily Kage level if he took off his weights. When he maxed them out at 1,000 pounds he plans on using gravity seals. Although the thing he was the most proud of was his chakra control. He was finally able to create one Bunshin no Jutsu, and considering he has already absorbed 5 tails worth of chakra and each tail is equal to 2 Kage level chakra reserves, he had every right to be happy. They arrived at a port along the northern borders of the country at night on the 3rd day. Naruto paid the captain plus a little bonus and left to look for a place to stay for the night. The town the port was in looked like it had seen better days, but he was able to find a room at a small hotel. Naruto decided to spend the rest of the month in town, then leave the beginning of December. After Naruto woke up, he left the town, and when he was sure it was safe, summoned 2,000 shadow clones and had them henge and travel the country for information and places to train. With that, he summoned 200 more clones to continue practicing his right-arm manipulation, while he went through some hand seals, bit his thumb and slammed his hand on the ground and uttered a quiet Kuchios no Jutsu. When the smoke disappeared, he was greeted with one of the older phoenixes of the clan. It was about half the size of Fenikusu. It looked around for a few seconds at its surroundings before settling on Naruto. "Naruto-sama, what is it you require of me?" Naruto looked at the phoenix. It looked like a miniature version of Fenikusu. "Before we start, may I ask your name?" The phoenix nodded and said, "Of course. My name is Asusher, Morning Sun. I am the eldest child of Fenikusu." Naruto nodded. "Well, that would explain why you look like a miniature version of him. Anyways, I was wondering if you could help me with my light element, as I was told each phoenix who has reached maturity has this element." Asusher replied, "Of course, I would be honored to help you. First of all, do you know anything about the light element?" Naruto shook his head. "The light element has many uses. It can be used for healing. It is especially effective against demons and can be used as offensive jutsu as well as defensive jutsu. As with the dark element, to use the light element requires great chakra reserves, control and concentration." Naruto nodded, awed by the power of this element. Asusher taught him low-level techniques dealing with each use of the light element. Before he left a scroll for Naruto with techniques up to C rank, and told him to summon him, or any of his brethren, for help. Naruto thanked the phoenix, and watched as it disappeared back to the summon world. Naruto continued to practice till nightfall, while he received memories of his clones. Apparently some of his clones decided to have a little race, and dropped their weights to 0. He learned he could travel across the country in one day, and he learned some interesting things as well about the country. Apparently Kirigakure no Sato's forces were split in two. One side under the command of the Yondaime Mizukage, who he wasn't able to get the identity of, and then there were the rebels under the command of a woman who he wasn't able to identify either. He learned that it started when the Kiri no Shinobigatana Nananinchu attempted to assassinate the Yondaime Mizukage. Each of them managed to survive, but they split up after the failed attempt, and for some reason none of them joined the rebels. If I managed to get them to serve me, it would prove quite beneficial, he thought. He also found some good spots to practice his Hayatan and Mokutan elements. The young king left the town on the 1st day of December, and did his usual routine on the 1st of every month of summoning a clone and phoenix to head to Rice Field Country to collect any information the Fuma clan might have. After watching they go, Naruto continued further into Water Country to the closest spot his clones found for training. When he arrived, he was greeted by the very same scene his clones saw. In fact, it looked a lot of what he saw when he was in the seal with Kyubi. There was a small waterfall that he could use for his Hayatan manipulation as well as his Mokutan manipulation. There was even a small cave he could stay in to keep warm not too far from here. He decided to make camp in the cave and start training in the morning. Naruto woke up at first light and headed back to the waterfall. "Alright, to use the sub-elements I need to combine the correct elements evenly," he said out loud. "Wish me luck, Koishi," he thought. "You don't need it, but good luck, Narukoi," Kyubi replied. So for the next 3 months Naruto worked on his Hayatan, Mokutan and light manipulations. He was able to get the Hayatan and Mokutan elements to Michunin and learn jutsu like Hayatan, Tsubame Fubuki and Moku Bunshin no Jutsu. With help from the phoenixes he was able to get his light manipulation to low jounin and learn more powerful healing techniques as well as others. It was the middle of February when he ran into, more like ambushed, 4 Nins. 3 of them had Kiri Hittites that had slashes across them. One was a female that was trying to hide themselves as a male that appeared a year older than him. 2 looked to be brothers, but it was the other person that had his attention, or rather what he was carrying. It was the legendary Kubikiri Hocho, which meant that this person must be Momochi Zabuza, the Kirigakure no Kijin, demon of the hidden mist. Naruto eyed each one carefully. He could tell the brothers worked as a team by their stance, and what they were carrying. Zabuza he knew would be the toughest opponent here, but it was the girl that was making him cautious. He could tell she was around mid-chunin level, but that was it. He decided to break the silence. "What can I do for you?" Zabuza spoke up. "You can hand over your belongings, Gaki, or you can die, then we take what we want," he said with a smirk. "Do you really believe you can beat me, Momochi Zabuza? You are at best ANBU level, and compared to me that is nothing," Naruto said, then started releasing his chakra. The moment he did, all 4 of them fell to their hands and knees. He let go and spoke again. "But I will make a deal. You and I shall fight a swordsman duel. If you win, I will serve you and hand over everything I own. If I win, you and your followers will serve me and obey my every command. Do you accept?" Zabuza was shocked at the power of this kid. He thought he was just some wannabe playing ninja. He was even more shocked at the deal this kid made. Zabuza looked at his subordinates before turning back to the child. Hi, I agreed to the duel. Naruto smiled and said good. No ninjutsu will be allowed. This is a battle of the blade only. Tell your comrades to back up and not to interfere. Zabuza nodded his head. You heard him. Back away and do not interfere whatsoever. They nodded their heads and leapt away. Zabuza lifted Kubikiri Hocho from his back and got into a stance. He assumed his opponent was going to use the Kodachi strap to his waist but lifted an eyebrow when he saw him lift his left hand. I am sure you thought I would be using the Kodachi strap to the back of my waist, but for a master swordsman such as yourself I believe you deserve the honor of fighting against this. And with that Naruto summoned chakra to the seal on his wrist and summoned the sword of the king, the dragon sword. Zabuza stopped breathing when he saw the sword. It can't be. That sword. That sword. I thought they were all killed. He gulped, filling his lungs with air again. Who are you? Naruto was smirking when he saw Zabuza's reaction. He knew a swordsman of his caliber would recognize this sword. I will tell you my name at the end of our duel. Zabuza simply nodded before straightening himself, then charging. Naruto charged as well and their swords clashed between them. Amazing. He's not even struggling against my strength, Zabuza thought. They jumped back and continued the battle. Zabuza swung his sword from the side and Naruto parried it with his own before he swung his down with Zabuza twisting out of the way. Naruto jumped up when Zabuza swung his sword as he twisted. They continued on for 15 minutes with Zabuza looking moderately tired and sweating, but Naruto was only sweating a bit. The Gaki's got insane stamina and skills. But that style he's using, I've never seen anything like it, and I think that damn brat is holding back, Zabuza thought. Naruto noticed their state of condition as well. One last go, Zabuza? Hi, he replied. With that they charged one last time. Zabuza brought down his sword while Naruto brought his sword down low and started charging lightning chakra through it. When they crashed, Zabuza was literally stunned as his body was filled with lightning. He dropped his sword and fell down. The other three that were watching were amazed at how easily Zabuza lost. They ran over to him and were about to touch him when a voice stopped them. Don't do that. He'll be fine in a few minutes. A bit twitchy for a while, but fine, Naruto said. They nodded and waited. After about 5 minutes, Zabuza started to move around. He was helped to a tree that he leaned against and looked at the person who beat him. What the hell was that? I thought you said no ninjutsu? Naruto looked at him in the eye and said I didn't use ninjutsu. I used my sword's special ability that lets me channel my elemental chakra through it. Zabuza looked at him thinking it's true. Only one sword was able to do that, and it looked exactly like the one he used. You are an Uzumaki, aren't you? That is the only way you would be able to use that sword, he said. Naruto nodded and replied, yes, I am an Uzumaki. My mother was Uzumaki Kushina, daughter of the former king and queen of Whirlpool Kingdom. Zabuza nodded, going over the information, then said, if I recall, only the king may wield that sword, and since you said former king, I'm guessing you've become the new king? Naruto nodded. That would be correct. I plan to rebuild my kingdom and I've already started with my plans. Now on to our arrangement. Do you pledge your allegiance to me, and do the rest of you as well? You three will no longer be serving Zabuza but me. I will let you stay with him though for the next 3 years, as I will be busy and will be traveling alone till then. It's been every swordsman's dream to serve the Uzumaki family, as they have been the best swordsmen that have ever lived, Zabuza thought. I pledge my allegiance and loyalty to you, my king, Zabuza said, then shocked his 3 comrades when he got on one knee and bowed. The others looked at each other before doing the same as their former leader and got on one knee and bowed. Naruto smiled. Great. Now get up and introduce yourselves. I am Gozu, twin brother of Meizu. We are known as the Demon Brothers and are former Chunin of Kirigakure. Naruto nodded his head and looked at the next one. I am Meizu, twin brother of Gozu. We specialize in coordination attacks and work well as a team. Naruto nodded again and looked at the last member. My name is Haku. I am a boy of 13. She was cut off by Naruto. Do not lie to me. I know you are a girl and I understand your reasons for hiding yourself, but you do not need to in the presence of friends. Haku was shocked that he could tell she was a girl. How? She asked. I have a very advanced ability to detect smells, and males and females give off different smells, he explained. She nodded at that and restarted. My name is Haku. I am a girl and 13 years old. I have been with Zabuza for 5 years now after he saved me. She hesitated for a moment, but continued. Activated my bloodline. My father killed my mother when he found out I got it from her, then he tried to kill me. I killed him and the others with him with my bloodline. She looked down, afraid of what she would see in his eyes, and was startled when she felt herself being hugged. It's okay, Haku-chan. I don't think any less of you. You were in a situation that nobody should have to be in, let alone a child, Naruto said as he continued to comfort the crying girl by rocking her back and forth and running his hand through her hair. After a few minutes she calmed down and was blushing up a storm when he pulled back. He just smiled at her and winked, which made her blush harder. Zabuza was twitching. What does he think he's doing with my tool, he thought. Naruto noticed this, which was why he winked at Haku and nearly laughed out loud at the look on Zabuza's face. Haku broke them from their thoughts. Excuse me, my king, but you still haven't told me your name. Naruto blushed at that, which Haku thought was extremely cute. Yes, excuse my manners. My name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Son of Namikaze Minato, Konoha's Yellow Flash and Yondaime Hokage, and Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina, Konoha's Red Death and Royal Princess of Whirlpool Kingdom. Current King of Whirlpool and Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko, he finished. He saw the shocked look on their faces. I do indeed love saying that, he mentally chuckled. Haku was the first to recover and said while the others could only nod their agreement with her statement before Zabuza spoke up. Wait, Jinchuriki? As in you have a demon sealed inside you? And the Kyubi no Yoko to be precise? Naruto nodded. That would be correct. Although the demons are not as evil as everyone makes them out to be. I'd say humans are more evil than demons could ever be. Hell, if it weren't for demons 90% of the world's bloodlines wouldn't even exist, he finished his rant. What they all said. Naruto sighed and told them how bloodlines came to be and how humans got greedy with power, and eventually the demons left this world back to their own. They were shocked when he told them how the Sharingan came to be, and Zabuza and the other males laughed and Haku giggled, which Naruto thought was extremely cute when he told them where the Byakugan came from. They were shocked and Haku cried and hugged him when he told them of his life all the way up to now. So what do you want us to do now? Zabuza asked as he watched Naruto still holding Haku, running his hand through her hair. If Konoha has a law like the one in Kiri, then Haku might be able to join him, Naruto thought while enjoying having Haku in his arms, and said we'll travel together for the next month and train together. Haku-chan can further help me with my Hayatan abilities, and I can help you four in areas you are lacking in. After that I want you four to search for the other 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, and bring them to me. Tell them I will offer the same deal I made Zabuza, and also it gives them a chance in a lifetime to fight against the dragon sword. I want to make you 7 into the Knights of Whirlpool, where you will be my generals and highest ranking officers just below the royal family. Zabuza and the others were shocked, although Haku not as much, as she was comfortable in Naruto's lap with his hand running through her hair. The group stayed together until the end of March. Zabuza had told him that the Yondaime Mizukage was in fact another Jinchuriki by the name of Yagura, and before he became Mizukage they used to be friends, and when he learned that the others were planning on assassinating the Mizukage, it was the hardest thing he ever had to do. He informed him that he contained the Sanbai no Kaide game. When Kyubi learned of this, she knew something was wrong, as the three-tailed turtle was the wisest and most peaceful of the Bijou, and would never let its container willfully do what he's done. When Naruto asked if Yagura has always acted like this, Zabuza said no. The reason he was chosen for Mizukage was because he used to be peaceful but still would harm those he deemed a threat. Zabuza also informed him that the leader of the rebels was in fact a young woman in her early 20s. Even though she was young, she was still more powerful than Zabuza. Her name was Rose. Apparently Zabuza thought that fit her very well. Naruto had an idea at what he meant but left it at that. Also, like Kumo and Iwa, Kiri had 2 Jinchuriki as well. They also had the Rokubi no Namakuji, 6-tailed slug, in a container named Utakata that was fighting for the rebels. Naruto had mentioned about the CRA in Konoha when Zabuza asked if they had anything similar to the one Kiri had. Haku perked up at the mention of it, and when he replied they did, and the number of girls he was allowed to marry in Konoha alone, she blushed the whole day and would have small nosebleeds when she looked at him, while Zabuza and the brothers were grumbling about lucky blonde-haired bastards. Haku was amazed, proud, and a bit jealous at how fast Naruto was coming along with his Hayatan manipulation. He helped her with her water and wind manipulations as well and taught her a few more jutsu. For Zabuza they improved their kenjutsu by dueling a lot and taught him a few Suiton jutsu. For the brothers he helped increase their speed and observe their surroundings when using genjutsu. When the day came for the group to leave and look for the others, they bid goodbye, but Naruto surprised them when he spun Haku around and kissed her on the lips. He licked her lips, making her part them, and he moved his tongue into her mouth. His tongue explored her mouth and got her tongue in the action. She started moaning and Naruto slid his hands down to her as giving it a squeeze, making her moan louder. After 5 minutes they broke apart. He chuckled at the glazed look on her face. He leaned in next to her ear and whispered, "There'll be more of that when we see each other again, Hakuheim," he huskily said. She shivered before placing a quick kiss on his lips before turning around, ignoring the looks on the others. Zabuza snapped out of his daze when Haku walked by him. He watched her, then quickly turned around only to see Naruto gone. His face quickly turned red before yelling, "Damn you, Naruto! What the hell were you thinking kissing my daughter?" He heard a gasp and turned around to see a teary-eyed Haku and quickly realized what he said. He chuckled nervously before walking past her. Haku smiled and gave him a hug as she followed him. "Life sure will be more interesting with Naruto-sama around, won't it, brother?" Gozu said. "Indeed it will, brother. Indeed it will," Meizu replied. Naruto chuckled as he heard Zabuza's yell. He sat down in a safe place before summoning a few clones to guard the area and entered his mindscape. He found Kyubi on the shore by the pond in a bathing suit that barely covered her, and he took off his clothes except his boxers and walked up to her and lay down on top of her and started making out with her. Kyubi moaned and smiled into the kiss. "Love you too, Koishi," she said. They lay there together in each other's arms for the rest of the day. It would be 3 months until Zabuza came back. During those months Naruto had mastered his right-ton manipulation and gotten his Mokuton and Hayatan to mid-jounin level. He was also close to mastering his light element. He knew he wouldn't be as far as he was if it wasn't for the phoenixes helping him. When Zabuza arrived, it was with a much bigger entourage than before. He could see 6 people with him but could sense 7. He quirked an eyebrow before looking around. He finally found it, and concluded it was the thing on the back on the individual wielding the Rai Roga. That must be Kurisuke Raiga, but who is on his back? Naruto thought. Who is the person on your back? Naruto asked. Raiga was astounded that this kid could sense Ranmaru. Raiga slowly lifted the basket from his back and placed it down. When he opened it, Naruto could see a child in it. His name is Ranmaru. I found him in a village living by himself after we defected from Kiri. He has a Kekkei Genkai that gives him the ability to see through walls, cause illusions, and interfere with even the Byakugan. Unfortunately, his body is weak and he can barely move on his own. Naruto looked at the child who was staring at him before Naruto smiled at him. Very well, after we are done with our duels I will see what I can do to heal him, he finished. Ranmaru spoke for the first time. How? Many have tried and all have failed. What can you do that they can't? Naruto continued smiling at him. I have the ability to do things that haven't been seen since the Rikudo Sennin. I have gained what he used to heal the people of his time that would have lived a life of suffering or died. Naruto looked at the others. Each had a sword signifying that they were a member of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. There was of course Kurisuke Raiga, wielder of the Rai Roga, lightning fangs, and known as Kirigakyu no Raijin, thunder of the hidden mist, Hashigaki Kisame, wielder of Samahada and known as Kirigakyu no Kaijin, scourge of the hidden mist, Ringo Rashi, Pipochi, Gyurpi Ushur, and finally Dai Dai Shiba. As with Zabuza, I am offering each of you a duel. If you win, everything I own will be yours. However, if I win, you pledge your allegiance and loyalty to me. If I beat all of you, I will tell you what I have planned for all of you. Same rules as before. No ninjutsu, as this is a battle of the blade. I will even allow you to partner up if you wish. I will not let any of you partner up with Ranmaru. Naruto finished and chuckled at Raiga's frown. He noticed 4 of them had paired up. His first challengers were Rashi and Pochi. Their teamwork was astounding, but they were quickly defeated. His next challengers were Shur and Shiba. As with Rashi and Pashi, their teamwork was excellent, and he almost got cut a couple times, but with a few elemental enhanced swings they were defeated. Raiga was next. He was quite fast. Easily ANBU level, but his swordsmanship was the worst of the 7. His last opponent, and the strongest of the 7, was Kisame. He was bordering Kage level, and Naruto knew this would be his toughest fight so far. Not bad, brat. You defeated 6 of us so far, but now you have to fight the strongest of us. Let's see what you got. And with that he tossed Samahada over his shoulder, and the wrappings came apart. I need to be careful. If I get hit by that, it'll be a bitch, thought Naruto. Naruto raised the dragon sword and the two charged each other. Using elemental chakra will be useless on him, Naruto thought as he dodged a swipe aimed for his head. Naruto flipped over Kisame and managed to cut his back. Kisame gave a grunt at the pain but shook it off. He swung around him and was blocked by Naruto's sword and kicked him in the stomach, making him fly back. Naruto flipped in midair and landed on his feet only to dodge to the left when Samahada came down right in front of him. He got up and got into a stance that Zabuza recognized, so he's finally getting serious. Kisame eyed the stance. I've never seen a stance like that before. Naruto dropped his weights to 0 and charged forward and yelled out Kozuryusen, 9-headed dragon strike. Asechaiki, Kisame thought. Naruto was too fast for him to block. Hell, he couldn't even see him, but he could feel each hit. After 9 hits, Naruto reappeared behind Kisame and turned around to watch Kisame fall. The others were stupefied at what they, or more specifically what they, didn't witness. They didn't even see him attacking. They only saw Kisame's body twitch every couple seconds. We didn't even stand a chance, they all thought. Naruto took a breath and walked over to Kisame. With a quick activation of the mystical palm technique, they watched as Naruto's hands started glowing green and healing Kisame's injuries. Is this what he plans to use to heal me, thought Ranra, fascinated by the technique. After 10 minutes, Naruto stopped and backed up. He watched as Kisame slowly opened his eyes, then groaned. He looked at Naruto and said, "What the hell was that move you used on me? I've never seen it before. The speeds you moved at were incredible. You haven't seen it because it hasn't been used in centuries. The name of the move is called Kozuryusen. It is a technique from the Hiten Mitsurigi style." When Naruto said that, the other 6 members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist eyes widened. How do you know that style? The Hiten Mitsurigi style has been lost. How could you possibly know it? Kisame questioned/demanded. It helps that my sensei was alive during the time it was used and managed to master it, Naruto replied. Who is your sensei? Kisame asked. Kyubi no Yoko, Naruto answered. Kisame and the others except Zabuza's group eyes widened for a second time. Kisame slowly put it together and said, "You are a Jinchuriki, aren't you?" "Yes, I am," Naruto replied. Then suddenly Kisame started laughing out loud, which confused and scared the others. "Oh man, this is good. I'm glad Zabuza found me when he did, or else I'd be dead." Naruto raised an eyebrow and said, "How so?" "A week before Zabuza and the others found me, I was approached by Uchiha Itachi. He claimed he represented an organization called Akatsuki that his master started and that they were looking for members. I asked him what this organization wanted, and he only told me they were interested in capturing the Bijou, and therefore the Jinchuriki. He didn't tell me why he wanted them, but anyone wanting that kind of power can't be good. He told me to meet him in River Country in 2 months if I accepted. Kisame finished. Naruto listened to the information carefully. The only person Itachi would call master would be Madara, and if he knows of Madara then he probably knows of the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. That would explain the rumors of why he left his brother Sasuke alive. Since Madara is involved in this organization, that proves he's up to no good, he sighed, catching their attention. Well, if you plan to keep to your deal and pledge your allegiance and loyalty to me, then you won't be joining them, and I believe I have a good idea at who Itachi's master is, and if I'm right then the entire Elemental Nations is in trouble. Anyone who joins them I will kill if they do not surrender. The look in his eyes and the tone in his voice made them all shiver, knowing he was serious. I swear my allegiance and loyalty to you, my king, Kisame stated, taking a knee and bowing his head. Naruto looked at the others and they quickly followed suit. He looked over at Haku and gave her a wink and a smirk to Zabuza and the others. She smiled back at him and Zabuza and the brothers smirked back, each moving to stand next to Naruto to get a good look at their faces. Good. Now that that's finished, it's time for me to tell you who I am. As you know already, I am an Uzumaki, but I am so much more. My name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. I am king of Whirlpool and the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko. I am the son of Namikaze Minato, Konoha's Yellow Flash and Yondaime Hokage, and Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina, Konoha's Red Death and daughter of the former king and queen of Whirlpool. He finished, taking out a camera from nowhere and took a quick few shots. He put it away just as quick and looked at their faces. Haku and the others were barely standing up. Haku from blushing since Naruto had grabbed her hand during the speech and her giggling at their faces. Zabuza and the others had enough and fell on the ground, their sides hurting from all their laughing. Kisame summed up the others' minds when he muttered damn, and with that Haku burst out laughing in Naruto's arms. When everyone settled down, Naruto held Haku in front of him with her back against his chest and his hands around her waist. Even though she was a year older, he was still taller, and was able to let his head rest on her head. He kissed her cheek and let go of her, and walked over to Ranmaru. Are you ready? I can't promise you that I can heal you, but I will give everything I have. Ranmaru looked him in his eyes and nodded his head. Naruto laid out some futons and picked up Ranmaru and laid him down on them. Naruto activated a quick diagnostic jutsu, and ran his hands along Ranmaru's body. His body is simply too weak. Maybe the Sannin Tsunade could think of something with regular medjutsu, but there is something I can do. Naruto looked back at Ranmaru. The technique I used on Kisame won't work on you. I'm not as knowledgeable about the human body, and there is only one person I can think of that could heal you with the type of medjutsu I was using. However, remember I told you that I have the ability to use the same techniques the Rikudo Sannin used to heal people? I can use those, but I have never used it on somebody as weakened as you. I'd give yourself a 75% chance of this working, but if it doesn't, you could die. If you choose to go through with this, you'll be able to walk, run, swim, and so many other great things. The choice is up to you. Ranmaru just lay there not moving for a few minutes, then turned back to Naruto. I want to do it. I want to be able to walk and run. I don't want to be a burden on Raiga anymore. Naruto nodded and had everyone else step back. He went through 30 hand seals and called out Ranpu, Seze Sasi, light, regeneration, rebirth. Everyone watched as instead of Naruto's hands glowing green, they turned completely white. You couldn't even see his hands. They noticed Naruto had his eyes closed, and the longer the jutsu lasted, more of Ranmaru's body was covered by the light. After 8 minutes, Ranmaru was completely covered in the light when it started to fade away, and Naruto fell back breathing hard. Haku ran up to him, while Raiga ran over to Ranmaru. Don't worry, he'll be fine, Raiga. He just needs to rest for now, as well as me. That jutsu took a lot out of me, Naruto said, still breathing hard. What was that? I've never heard of a light element before, Raiga asked as the others listened. Naruto looked at his subordinates. That's because besides me, only one other human has had the ability to use this element. You see, there are actually 7 elements, not 5. The 2 that are not used today were used only once before me, and that person was the Rikudo Sannin. Those elements are light and dark. I have the dark element as well, but I have yet to start training with it. Shiba spoke next. If that's true, then how do you know how to use these elements? That's because one of my summoning contracts has the ability to use the light element, Naruto explained, which only led to more questions to the others. You have more than one summoning contract? I thought that was impossible. Sure spoke. No, if the summon bosses agree, then you can use both contracts, and technically you could use every single summoning contract in existence if they all agreed, but that's not very likely, Naruto explained to them. Geez, I feel like an academy teacher. Haku asked the question that was on everyone's mind in Naruto-kun. Which summoning contracts do you have? Naruto smiled at her, and pulled her towards him, getting an EP from her. He sat her in his lap, chuckling at her blushing face. Well, my dear Haku-chan, have you heard of the 4 legendary summoning contracts? She shook her head into his chest. These 4 contracts consist of the Phoenix Clan, Dragon Clan, Turtle Clan, and the Tiger Clan. These 4 clans created an alliance with each other long ago, and are the strongest summons, with each boss equal in power. To summon even one of these bosses requires the equivalent of Kage-level chakra reserves. Also, like with most other summons, you must pass a test given by the boss summon, and if you should fail, you will be killed to keep the location of the summoning contract safe. The two summoning contracts I have in my possession are the Phoenix and Dragon contracts. He heard her gasp, and he looked down at her face with her eyes wide in amazement. He smiled at her and leaned down and kissed her forehead. He looked at the others and laughed mentally along with Kyubi at their faces. They all prepared camp with Naruto summoning some shadow clones and having them draw seals around the area for protection. He gathered them around the campfire with him sitting between Haku's legs with her hand running through his hair. I think it's time I inform the rest of you of why I want you to serve me. I want you 7 to become my Knights of Whirlpool. You 7 will be my top generals and my highest ranking officers just below the royal family. You will be tasked to guard the countryside and its borders. I plan to build forts in crucial parts of the kingdom, and each of you will be in charge of your own fort. We will train the people who volunteer for soldiers and teach them basic shinobi techniques as well. I never want my people to experience what they are experiencing right now. Through my travels I've met several daimyos that have earned my trust, and I've theirs as well. 4 of them are the daimyos of fire, wind, earth, and lightning country. Each of them have agreed to help me when the time comes, which will be in Konoha in 3 years. I plan to return to Konoha to become a ninja, as one of my dreams is to become the best Hokage that village will and ever see. I plan to enter the Chunin exams that will be in Konoha at the end of that year. That is when I shall reveal to the world of who I am. He looked around to each of their faces with Haku still running her hand through his hair. Damn, those are some pretty big plans, but I'll be right there at your side. Besides, I like the sound of Kisame, Knight of Whirlpool. He finished with his shark-like grin. The others nodded their agreement as well. He was about to call it a night when Zabuza spoke up. Naruto Dano. Naruto is fine. When among friends, Naruto interrupted. Zabuza nodded about this group called Akatsuki. You mentioned you might know who their leader is and that they were a threat to the elemental nations. Naruto sighed and relaxed at Haku's soothing hands and Kyubi's soothing words. He retold the story of how the bloodlines came into existence, and how the Sharingan came into existence when some of Kyubi's power was stolen. But this time he mentioned the side effects of a power that doesn't belong to you. He mentioned since Kyubi was female, most of the serious side effects happen to the males. He told them how when using the Sharingan causes males to lose their sanity when it's first activated, and the more you use it the faster it deteriorates. He told them how to gain the Manjikyu Sharingan, and the side effect of the more you use this form the faster you lose the ability to see, and finally the last form, the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. He explained that with this form the user gains Kyubi's immortality and eternal youth. This was how Madara was still alive and causing havoc today. When Naruto mentioned what the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan looked like, Kisame choked on the water he was drinking, which caught the attention of Naruto. That eye. I know, I've seen that eye. I believe Madara was the Sandang Mizukage. Nobody ever saw his face, but I saw one of his eyes once, and it was exactly like you described. The other Kirinins were shocked at this revelation. It's possible that he could have placed some type of high-level genjutsu on Yagura or done something else before he left. With Kiri's bloodlines gone, there are less people to get in his way. Naruto concluded. He felt Haku's hand stop running through his hair, and he turned around to see Haku silently crying. He picked her up and sat her in his lap, holding her and letting her cry. That bastard will pay for all the pain he's caused, Naruto and the others thought. Naruto bid them good night and carried Haku into his tent, where the two slept together through the night. The group traveled through water country, practicing and improving their skills. It was the beginning of August when Naruto told them he wanted to see the leader of the rebels. Zabuza agreed and led Naruto and the others to the east side of the country.